Chapter 502. After hearing Xiao Yan and Yang Qing's words, Tao Yaoyao became even more puzzled. Time's up. What time's up? Xiao Yan still smiled and didn't speak. After hesitating for a bit, Yang Qing simply explained, Yuan Fang He, the training time he sets for himself every day is all planned out. At the same time, he is also a very punctual person. Tao Yaoyao was stunned and could not help but laugh. Although Li Yuanfang didn't explain in detail, she still understood. It turned out that it was already time for Li Yuanfang to train according to the plan. This person obviously had some obsessive-compulsive disorder. When the time was up, he must act according to the original plan. Tao Yaoyao looked at Li Yuanfang with a smile. What an interesting person. Interesting. After a moment, Yang Qing successfully cut off a piece of heaven-mending vine. The dark green heaven-mending vine emitted a mysterious spiritual energy fluctuation. After Yang Qing handed the vine to Xiao Yan immediately brought Tao Yaoyao out of the Medicine Valley and returned to the All Heavens Hall. On the way, Tao Yaoyao, who was behind Xiao Yan, suddenly said, Fellow Taoist Xiao, I have a presumptuous request. I hope you will agree. Xiao Yan turned around and asked casually, what is it? Tao Yaoyao's expression was still very relaxed, but her gaze was extremely solemn. Slowly, she said, I have long heard that fellow Taoist Xiao is fierce in fights. Even among the disciples of the same generation in Xianmen Tianzong, you are second to none. Xiao Yan raised his eyebrows and said indifferently, among the disciples under my master, I am the head, but that is only because I entered the sect earlier. My fellow disciples are all astonishingly talented. I never belittle myself, but I also do not dare to falsely claim to be second to none. Speaking up to this point, Xiao Yan suddenly changed the topic. However, among the cultivators of the same realm, only our fellow disciples can defeat the disciples of Xianmen's sect. These overbearing and domineering words came out of Xiao Yan's mouth in an extremely calm tone, without the slightest bit of arrogance or complacency, as if he was stating a universally acknowledged general knowledge. Tao Yaoyao stared at Xiao Yan for a moment, and a smile gradually blossomed on her face. She didn't comment on Xiao Yan's words and only said with a faint smile, Tao Yaoyao is untalented, so I would like to ask for fellow Xiao's guidance. Even though Tao Yaoyao had a feeling that she would most likely lose the battle against Xiao Yan, she still took the initiative to challenge him. Moreover, he issued a challenge to Xiao Yan at the top of Yujing Mountain in Xianmen Tianzong. This was because this had always been her wish. She wanted to fight against Xiao Yan. If she retreated in the end and didn't even have the courage to fight him, it would severely affect Tao Yaoyao's future cultivation. Even if she managed to repair the crack in the golden elixir with the heaven-mending vine, she might not have any hope of surviving the lightning tribulation. She was a sword cultivator and originally paid attention to advancing courageously. Even though she wouldn't pursue pointless failure and casualties, if she retreated so easily, her sword heart was destined to be covered in dust. Because she had no chance to redeem herself. With Xiao Yan's current rate of improvement, the gap between the two of them would only grow larger and larger in the future. If Tao Yaoyao didn't have the thought of challenging Xiao Yan before then, that would be fine. But since she herself had the thought first, then she could only throw away all her worries and do her best. Victory or defeat is up to the heavens. Xiao Yan calmly looked at Tao Yaoyao. The matter of the Desolate Sea Assembly a year ago, Shi Tianhao, Zhu Yi and the others told him about it afterwards. So he knows that Tao Yaoyao once had the thought of fighting him. Celerita's sword sect. The corners of Xiao Yan's mouth revealed a faint smile, only that this smile was somewhat cold. If time went back to 4 years ago when he was still in Wuzhou City, facing Tao Yaoyao, he probably wouldn't even be able to look up to her because she simply stood at a height that he couldn't even see. Murong Yanran was taken in by the Celerita's sword sect and came to break off the engagement. His heart was filled with indignation, his fighting spirit unprecedentedly high. But he wasn't stupid, he also knew that to him at that time, the Celerita's sword sect was a colossus. And now, Xiao Yan lowered his head to look at Yujing Mountain beneath his feet, then looked around, looking at the enormous profound heaven treasure tree and the All Heavens Palace under the tree in the distance. In that palace sat the person who changed his fate. Xiao Yan smiled, raising his eyes to look at Tao Yaoyao. Tao Yaoyao slightly furrowed her brows because she astonishingly saw that there seemed to suddenly be flames flickering in Xiao Yan's eyes. From silence to a prairie fire in an instant, the current Xiao Yan's body exuded an extremely berserk aura, as if a natural disaster had descended. From within the All Heavens Palace, a ray of sword light suddenly shot out, like mist and lightning, abnormally swift, the human eye practically unable to capture its trajectory. Tao Yaoyao stared blankly, recognizing that it was the sword light of her master, Celerita's swordmaster. Xiao Yan's expression didn't change in the slightest, standing where he was. Although he wasn't old, he already vaguely had the aura of a grandmaster. The sword light enveloped the two of them, transforming into a sword world. This is the competition ground that Celerita's swordmaster made for the two of them. Within the sword world, Xiao Yan faintly smiled. The spiritual energy on Yujing Mountain is much more convenient for us Xian Gate disciples to mobilize. Having your master, Celerita's swordmaster make the sword world is more fair for us in this battle. While speaking, Xiao Yan placed his hands behind his back, calmly looking at Tao Yaoyao. Xian Men Tianzong, Xiao Yan, please advise me. Tao Yaoyao composed herself, her state of mind instantly returning to the state of an ancient well without ripples. Celerita's swordmaster Tao Yaoyao, please advise me. Within the All Heavens Palace, Lin Feng and Celerita's swordmaster Flowing Light watched this scene silently. Nothing that happened on Yujing Mountain could escape Lin Feng's eyes and ears, so he naturally discovered the movements between Xiao Yan and Tao Yaoyao. Xiao Yan and Tao Yaoyao's strength was quite impressive, especially the current Xiao Yan, whose battle strength far exceeded the scope of the Golden Elixir period cultivators. Although they wouldn't harm Yujing Mountain at all if they fought on Yujing Mountain, the noise would be too loud. This battle was actually not a fight to the death, so there was no need to alarm too many people. Lin Feng didn't use his own magic power to create a small world, instead giving this authority to Celerita's swordmaster Flowing Light. He was completely unafraid of Celerita's swordmaster Flowing Light's tricks, and with Celerita's swordmaster Flowing Light's pride, he naturally wouldn't be so petty. However, in a sense, this meant that even Celerita's swordmaster Flowing Light didn't have high hopes for his disciple. At this moment, Lin Feng was looking at Xiao Yan and Tao Yaoyao, feeling rather amused. Young lady, good luck to you. You're facing a destined one who has been sullen for an entire year. But... The corners of Lin Feng's lips curled up slightly. Like teacher, like disciple. He turned to look at Celerita's swordmaster Flowing Light, who was also looking at him. Celerita's swordmaster Flowing Light said calmly, I hope that sect leader Lin can grant my wish. Celerita's swordmaster Flowing Light's figure disappeared from the spot, gradually transforming into a long sword. This sword didn't have a physical body, only an outline formed by light rays. It exuded an elusive, fleeting, and powerful concept of power. It was like a fleeting flash of light. It was so short that it flashed by in a hurry, difficult to grasp or capture. It was Celerita's swordmaster Flowing Light, who was at the second tier of the primordial spirit realm. He had manifested his return to void dharmic body. Lin Feng watched this scene calmly. Fellow Taoist, why do you have to do this? Damage to a void return realm dharma body is no small matter. Celerita's swordmaster Flowing Light said silently, please enlighten me, sect leader Lin. He naturally knew that although a void return realm dharma body was powerful, it was very difficult to recover once it was damaged. In serious cases, it could even fall back to the first tier of the primordial spirit transformation realm. However, he could only unleash his strongest state at this moment. Unlike Tao Yaoyao, who had no idea how powerful Xiao Yan was, Celerita's swordmaster Flowing Light had personally witnessed Lin Feng's attacks. The impression of Lin Feng's powerful strength was deeply engraved in his mind. The four great sword masters of Shushan, who were also at the second tier of the primordial spirit transformation realm and were even slightly stronger than him, were helpless against Lin Feng. Lin Feng only needed to summon a Dharma body with the mystique to challenge any one of them. Such strength was not something that a second-tier primordial spirit transformation realm cultivator could handle alone. However, Celerita's Swordmaster Flowing Light still issued a challenge to Lin Feng. This was because, like Tao Yaoyao, he was in a difficult position. After Lin Feng accompanied Xiao Yan to the cloud-traversing peak to fulfill the battle agreement, Celerita's Swordmaster Flowing Light, who had not accepted a personal disciple for several hundred years after Tao Yaoyao, made an exception on the spot and accepted Murong Yenran as his disciple. Although he did not say it out loud, he already had the intention to challenge Lin Feng. Ever since he was on the cloud-traversing peak, he had wanted to challenge Lin Feng to a battle. However, he had been delayed due to various considerations. Now, he already knew how extraordinary Lin Feng's cultivation was. However, he had not fulfilled his long-cherished wish. This was a knot in his heart. At Celerita's Swordmaster Flowing Light's level, it was very difficult for one's state of mind to produce any lingering obstacles. However, once they did, they could not be resolved. Instead, they would be even more deeply rooted than cultivators of lower cultivation realms. Therefore, even before Tao Yaoyao had challenged Xiao Yan, Celerita's Swordmaster Flowing Light had already issued a challenge to Lin Feng first. Otherwise, in the long run, his determination would only become more and more shaky. At that time, even his sword heart would be damaged. Facing Celerita's Swordmaster Flowing Light, Lin Feng said calmly, "I respect fellow Daoists' firm Dao heart, so I will not use my divine ability Dharma body to fight with fellow Daoist." Celerita's Swordmaster Flowing Light replied solemnly, "In that case, thank you, sect leader Lin." Silently, Lin Feng stood where he was without moving. Celerita's Swordmaster Flowing Light knew that Lin Feng was waiting for him to make the first move. Without saying anything else, he activated his magic power, and with a flash of sword light, his sword-like return to void Dharma body disappeared in the void. When he reappeared, he was already right in front of Lin Feng. Not even a split second had passed. This sword had no other intention other than speed. It had displayed the sword intent that only speed could not be broken to the extreme, and it was about to surpass the limits of time. Lin Feng's heart stirred slightly, and he seemed to hear Celerita's Swordmaster Flowing Light's solemn words again. "Thank you, sect leader Lin." This was not Celerita's Swordmaster Flowing Light repeating his words. Instead, it was as if his sword contained the power to reverse the flow of time. Instant sword escape is actually not much inferior to Mount Xiao's sword. Lin Feng nodded, still standing where he was without the slightest movement. Only a Tai Chi pattern suddenly appeared on his forehead. Black and white intertwined, and it started to spin. Chapter 503. Inside Swordsman Flowing Light's sword-shaped void returned Dharma physique, there was a flash of light hidden. The flash of light flickered, but it changed many times in an instant. It contained an extremely powerful sword will. As Swordsman Flowing Light's void returned Dharma physique flew towards Lin Feng, the flash of light suddenly brightened, turning into a colorful sword-shaped treasure. The flying sword's blade flashed continuously, reflecting a figure. It was an old man with long white hair and a long beard. He wore a high crown and ancient clothes, and his aura was fierce. The old man's eyes flashed continuously. In the blink of an eye, it changed 60 times. Each light and shadow was a different image. The treasure of the Celerita's Sword Sect, the Incarnation-level sword magic treasure, the instant Celerita's Sword. This sword is the personal sword of the founder of the Celerita's Sword Sect, being refined into a magic weapon. Since the Celerita's Sword Sect was established tens of thousands of years ago, it has always been persistently refined by many powerhouses, long reaching the incarnation stage. Previously, Swordsman Flowing Light did not bring the instant flowing light with him, be it to the Desolate Sea Assembly or the Heaven Path Summit. This time, he came to challenge Lin Feng, so he did not hesitate to bring his trump card treasure. Swordsman Flowing Light had already reached the Primordial Soul Level 2 and returned to the Void stage. The Manifestation Stage Sword Treasure, Instant Flowing Light, could unleash 100% of its power and effect in his hands. At this moment, the sword and body combined. Swordsman flowing light's void returned Dharma physique, and the sword light formed by the instant flowing light merged into one, condensing into an incomparably dazzling light that pierced through time and space. In almost less than an instant, it attacked in front of Lin Feng. The instant flowing light had been refined by powerful figures. The instant sword escape sword will it contained was incomparably profound. It also came from the same source as swordsman flowing light. When the two joined forces, it was equivalent to the attack of two primordial soul return realm sword cultivators. Now that the sword wills resonated and fused, it produced an effect of 1 + 1 = 2. It was extremely sharp, almost reaching the limit of a primordial soul return realm sword cultivator. Venerated swordsman of Mount Shu sword sect had once suppressed venerated swordsman of flowing light, who had just entered the primordial spirit stage and returned to the void stage, at the Tianjia peak. But now, when faced with this sword, if he did not have the Little Shang sword, one of the 6 meridians immortal swords, in hand, he could only die with a grievance on the spot. As for Lin Feng, his expression remained calm in the face of this sword attack that seemed to reverse time. He did not even move his body. However, a Taiji symbol appeared on his forehead and began to spin. The Taiji diagram spun, as if it had opened up another world. With a flash of light, the sword light from sword venerate flowing light and the instant flowing light sword, which had merged into one, entered the Taiji diagram on Lin Feng's forehead. The moment he entered the Taiji diagram, sword venerable flowing light's mind became slightly dazed. The chaos in front of him opened up, and the 4 images were re-established. The world was born, and the 8 trigrams gave birth to all things. A brand new creation appeared in front of him. In front of him, the world had changed. Even though his swordsmanship was divine and the instantaneous flowing light sword in his hand was extremely profound, it was as if he was in a real world at this moment. He was helpless and did not know where to start. The instantaneous flowing light and the sword intent of 1,000 years in an instant had lost its use in this world. The passage of time was ultimately just one of the principles of the world of creation, a component. This person is very powerful. It's not something that you and I can break. Besides sword venerable flowing light, a white-haired elder with a long beard and a tall crown appeared. He was not corporeal but formed from light and shadow. He was the sword spirit of the instant flowing light sword. In terms of seniority, he was much higher than sword venerable flowing light. When sword venerable flowing light heard the sword spirit's words, he slowly nodded. That's right. I'm not this person's match. Before the challenge, I actually had a feeling. However, this battle is imperative. I will definitely not avoid it. It's just that from the looks of it, I'm ultimately asking for humiliation. A rare look of regret surfaced on sword venerable flowing light's usually arrogant face. The sword spirit stood beside him in silence. As the cornerstone treasure of the celestial light sword sect, he had experienced the changes of over 10,000 years. Now that he had suffered such a great defeat, he was unable to remain calm. Suddenly, Lin Feng's voice rang out in the vast heaven and earth. It was calm as usual. The path is before you. Why are you hesitating? Sword venerable flowing light did not speak. After a long while, his expression returned to normal. He nodded and said, "What sect leader Lin said is correct. From the moment I set foot on this jade capital mountain, it no longer matters what the result is. Many thanks for sect leader Lin's generosity. If I can improve again in the future, today's defeat will be due to you." Sword venerable flowing light said seriously. He did not have the slightest intention of provoking or being unconvinced. Instead, he was sincerely expressing his gratitude to Lin Feng. He was truly willing to submit. Lin Feng faintly smiled, "Congratulations fellow Daoist on your harvest." The Tai Chi pattern on his forehead rotated. A beam of flowing light shot out from it. The flowing light split into two in the air and landed on the ground. They respectively revealed the appearance of sword venerable flowing light and the sword spirit of the instant flowing light sword. Sword Venerable Flowing Light and the Sword Spirit both half bowed towards Lin Feng. Many thanks for your guidance, Sect Leader Lin. Lin Feng waved his hand. You don't have to be so polite. He looked out of the hall and said with a smile, oh, the competition between our disciples is about to end. After he was no longer trapped by Lin Feng's primordial spirit, Sword Venerable Flowing Light immediately sensed the movement in the sword realm formed by his sword light. The battle between him and Lin Feng had ended in an instant. Therefore, after their battle ended, the battle between Xiao Yan and Tao Yaoyao had only just begun. However, neither of them were the type to drag things out. One move to decide the victor. Both of them had the same thought, to decide the victor in one move. Xiao Yan's personality was originally used to slowly reveal his trump cards, but in this year's time, he had really been stifled for too long. As a result, when fighting with Tao Yaoyao this time, he immediately used a big move. In the Sword Venerable Flowing Light realm, a terrifying blue-purple bird flapped its wings and flew high into the sky. It emitted an extremely terrifying aura as if it wanted to destroy everything in the world. It was the Nether Evil Emperor. The Nether Evil Emperor had transformed into the form of a bird. In addition to being violent and domineering in the past, it also had the power of agility and speed. Lin Feng glanced at it and smiled in his heart. The vermilion bird? Tao Yaoyao originally wanted to use the speed advantage of her instant sword escape to fight with speed. However, she did not expect Xiao Yan to transform into the form of the vermilion bird with the Nether Evil Emperor. His speed was not much slower than the instant sword escape, but his destructive power was much stronger. Xiao Yan accurately captured Tao Yaoyao's sword light and turned the counterattack into a head-on attack. Tao Yaoyao suffered a great loss this way. At this moment, in front of the bird formed by the blue-purple flames, Tao Yaoyao stood with her sword. She did not look dispirited. She only sighed softly. It seems like it won't work. The shape of the bird gradually became blurry and turned into a dark blue-purple sea of flames. A figure slowly walked out of the sea of flames. It was Xiao Yan. Xiao Yan stood in the blue sea of flames, looking evil and domineering. He looked calm. Do you want to continue? Tao Yaoyao looked at Xiao Yan, who seemed to have come from the netherworld and controlled the world-destroying demonic flames. He looked like a flaming Yama king inside. She sheathed her sword and did not say anything. During the clash just now, Tao Yaoyao clearly felt that the cracks on her golden elixir had widened. It was almost completely shattered. At that moment, the Sword Venerable Flowing Light's sword realm shook and almost automatically helped Tao Yaoyao. She had lost this battle and could not say anything. She had been killed by Xiao Yan in one move. Sword Venerable Flowing Light and Instant Sword Art looked at the image in the sword realm. They looked at each other and shook their heads. Xianmen Tianzong was really ridiculously powerful. Sword Venerable Flowing Light turned to look at Lin Feng and thought, the world formed by black and white chi just now was the primordial spirit incarnation of the sect master of the celestial sect of wonders. I wonder what his return to void stage physique and Dao integration stage looks like. To be honest, he had lost even more miserably than Tao Yaoyao. Tao Yaoyao and Xiao Yan were at least attacking each other. Sword Venerable Flowing Light used instant sword art to attack Lin Feng, but Lin Feng did not retaliate at all. He revealed a bit of the aura of his primordial spirit incarnation and opened the world gate. He swallowed Sword Venerable Flowing Light and instant sword art together. He kept this person and sword in his primordial spirit and did not attack. No matter how the other party struggled, it was all in vain. Such mystique and dermic powers immediately subdued Sword Venerable Flowing Light and instant sword art. The sword spirit of instant sword art sighed and communicated with Sword Venerable Flowing Light through his spiritual sense. At the Heaven Track Peak meeting, no wonder this person could break the 6 Meridian Immortal Heaven Sword formation without revealing his primordial spirit incarnation. With such mystique and dermic powers, Shushan's loss is not undeserved. Sword Venerable Flowing Light nodded and did not reply. He flipped his palm and took out an item, handing it to Lin Feng. This is what Sect Master Lin requested. In exchange for my disciple Yao Yao's heaven-mending vine, please accept it, Sect Master Lin. It was a small pocket, and in the pocket, there was a lot of crystal-clear sand. Previously, when they parted at the Heaven Track Peak, Lin Feng had communicated with Sword Venerable Flowing Light and had already specified Tao Yao Yao's reward for the heaven-mending vine. This time, Sword Venerable Flowing Light had followed Tao Yao Yao to fulfill the promise and brought the item over. Thank you, fellow Taoist. Lin Feng smiled slightly and kept the quicksand. On the other side, Sword Venerable Flowing Light also dispersed the Sword Realm, and Xiao Yan and Tao Yao Yao came out together. Sword Venerable Flowing Light glanced at Xiao Yan and nodded slightly. Yesterday's dust at the bottom of the valley, today's talent reaching the clouds. I look forward to your tomorrow. Xiao Yan looked at Sword Venerable Flowing Light with some surprise. With Sword Venerable Flowing Light's status saying such words, it was almost equivalent to saying that the dispute between Xiao Yan and Murong Yenran previously, Celerita's sword sect had completely admitted defeat. On the cloud-traversing peak, after Murong Yenran was defeated, Sword Venerable Flowing Light immediately announced that he would take her as his personal disciple. It was clear that he wanted to teach her carefully so that Murong Yenran could defeat Xiao Yan in the future and regain the face of Celerita's sword sect. Everyone present was well aware that the enmity between the two parties had been formed and would continue to be entangled. And today, Sword Venerable Flowing Light's words were equivalent to taking the initiative to give up his original plan, tacitly admitting that he was the losing party. Me defeating Tao Yao Yao should be one of the reasons, but... Xiao Yan subconsciously looked at Lin Feng. Does this have something to do with Master? Chapter 504. Not only had Tao Yao Yao been defeated by Xiao Yan in one move, but Venerable Swordsman Flowing Light had also been defeated by Lin Feng. Lin Feng had not even used a single Dharma spell. He had only used his primordial spirit to devour Venerable Swordsman Flowing Light. Unable to break free, Venerable Swordsman Flowing Light could only bow his head and admit defeat. However, to Venerable Swordsman Flowing Light and Tao Yao Yao, since they had not been defeated, this battle was not considered a loss. Instead, they had fulfilled their wish. This battle also allowed them to understand the power of the Celestial Sect of Wonders even more. After a short conversation with Lin Feng, the two of them bade farewell. Venerable Swordsman Flowing Light still had to rush back to Cloud-Traversing Peak with Tao Yao Yao and planned to use the spiritual power of the Sky-Mending Vine to repair Tao Yao Yao's damaged golden elixir. After descending Yujing Mountain and returning to the boundless world of the Divine Land, Tao Yao Yao looked at the empty sky above her head and sighed. Xianmen Tianzong is indeed extraordinary. Xiao Yan is indeed worthy of being the eldest disciple of the Master of the Celestial Gates. She turned to look at her master, Venerable Swordsman Flowing Light. Master, although I only exchanged one move with Xiao Yan and did not personally fight with Zhu Yi, Shi Tianhao, and the others, I have a feeling that Xiao Yan might be the strongest among all the disciples of the Master of the Celestial Gates. At this moment, when she was talking to Venerable Swordsman Flowing Light, Tao Yao Yao spoke from the bottom of her heart. It was her most intuitive feeling. Venerable Swordsman Flowing Light replied, if you want to decide victory in one move, what you said is probably not wrong. This child is proud and arrogant. In this battle between you and him, he used his weakness to clash head-on with your strength. He did not show his strongest side. Right now, his cultivation is at the late stage of the golden elixir, but if he fuses his true fire, even a late-stage Yuanian cultivator might not be able to withstand it with his heaven and earth Dharma idol. Tao Yao Yao nodded. I've heard from junior brother Zhao and the others that he managed to perfectly fuse the true sun fire and the nether evil emperor fire on the cloud-traversing peak. His strength is simply astonishing. Now that his cultivation level has increased, I'm sure that the attack power of his true fire fusion will also improve. But... Tao Yao Yao was confused. I'm not doubting you, Master. I believe you if you say that he can defeat a mid-stage Yuanian cultivator, but a late-stage Yuanian cultivator is much stronger than a mid-stage Yuanian cultivator when he unleashes his avatar of heaven and earth. Will he be able to defeat him? Swordsman Flowing Light said indifferently, although he did not reveal it, it is very likely that he possesses more than 2 types of true flames. Tao Yaoyao was shocked. She naturally understood that if Xiao Yan could perfectly fuse the 3 types of true flames, the increase in strength would not be a mere 1 plus 2 equals 3. Instead, it would be much stronger than the power of 2 types of true flames fusing. Swordsman Flowing Light glanced at her and said calmly, "Of course, it's not just Xiao Yan. The cultivations of Xianmen Tianzong's disciples are all improving with each passing day. After not seeing them for a day, there might be huge changes. For example, Wang Lin." Tao Yaoyao opened her mouth but did not make a sound. A bitter smile appeared on her face. That's right. Who would have thought that Wang Lin, who was only at the early stage foundation establishment realm at the Desolate Sea Assembly, would actually successfully form his gold core after a mere few months? Tao Yaoyao still remembered that even her own master, Swordsman Flowing Light, who had reached the primordial spirit realm, was slightly shocked when he first heard the news. If Swordsman Flowing Light was already like that, there was no need to talk about Tao Yaoyao and the rest. When the news spread, all the Celeritas Sword Sect disciples who had participated in the Desolate Sea Assembly were dumbfounded and felt that it was unbelievable. So, if Zhu Yi and Shi Tianhao's strength have greatly increased now, it is also within expectations. Compared to Xiao Yan, it is still unknown who is stronger and who is weaker. Swordsman Flowing Light's expression was indifferent. However, if it is a competition of instant explosive power in actual combat, I still favor the power of Xiao Yan's true flame fusion. That was why it was said that Xiao Yan had a higher chance of winning if it was decided in one strike. After a while, Tao Yaoyao came back to her senses and laughed. Xianmen Tianzong's group is really a bunch of monsters. She smiled and looked at Swordsman Flowing Light. Swordsman Flowing Light was also looking at her calmly. Tao Yaoyao smiled and said, "I will definitely work hard and strive to become one of the monsters. If I don't succeed, Master, please don't blame me." Tao Yaoyao, who had always been strong and competitive, seemed to have no confidence when she said such words. However, her eyes were filled with fighting spirit and there was not the slightest bit of disappointment or anxiety. Swordsman Flowing Light's usually serious and dignified face also revealed a hint of a smile. He looked at Tao Yaoyao and nodded. Very good. He broke open a spatial crack in front of him and brought Tao Yaoyao into the void. Let's return to the mountain first and use the heaven-mending vine to repair your golden elixir. You have been stuck at the later stages of the golden elixir for too long. After watching Swordsman Flowing Light and his disciple leave, Lin Feng turned to look at Xiao Yan and said with a smile, "Swordsman Flowing Light seems to have noticed that you have a 3rd type of true flame." Xiao Yan chuckled. "I didn't suppress my aura at the start of the battle." Lin Feng saw that there seemed to be restless flames flickering in his eyes. He knew that Xiao Yan had actually suppressed himself in the battle just now. "You." Lin Feng smiled and pointed at Xiao Yan. Xiao Yan chuckled and did not deny it. Lin Feng threw him into the pill room and returned to the heavenly gold pavilion. "Rascal, if you have the strength, go use it on the pill cauldron or focus on your own cultivation." In the following days, Jade Capital Mountain regained its peace. Xiao Yan, Zhu Yi, and the others focused on cultivating and teaching their respective disciples. It was already autumn when Zhu Yi would once again head to the Great Zhou Empire's Tianjing city to participate in the imperial examinations. Lin Feng thought to himself, "This time, I don't have to go out of my way to take the examinations. However, I should prepare a mount for Xiaoyi." Ever since Jiayu refined the yellow dragon skeleton, she had been in closed-door cultivation. King Kuei Nyo and King Failian were currently in the desolate Sky Valley setting up the Wind and Thunder Transformation Formation to help Shi Tianhao in his closed-door cultivation. "Luckily, I'm prepared." Lin Feng smiled and raised his hand to release a ball of purple air. The air ball formed a small world. In the small world, there were blue waves, blue sky above, and the sea below. In the sky, a giant golden eagle spread its wings and soared. Its feathers were like iron, and it had 9 sharp claws under its abdomen. Its eyes were filled with ferocity and anxiety. In the deep sea below, there was a vague shadow moving. As the shadow swam, it gradually became clearer and floated to the surface. It was huge, like a small continent, but it was a giant whale. These were the helpers that Kunyua ancestor found when Lin Feng was searching for the Kuan Peng's treasure. One was the nine-clawed eagle king, and the other was the North Sea whale king. Both were late-stage demon kings. They ran amok in the Arctic ice sea. Together with Kunyua ancestor, they offended Lin Feng and were both captured by Lin Feng. After these two demon kings were captured by Lin Feng, he sealed them with the heavenly small world. He also tortured them so that they didn't dare to act rashly. Lin Feng didn't forget about the two of them during the live broadcast of the previous battles. After seeing Lin Feng's hands stop, the two demon kings were completely numb and didn't dare to have any thoughts of resisting. However, they were imprisoned by Lin Feng and didn't have any freedom. They were extremely anxious and didn't know what would happen to them in the future. Although the two late-stage demon kings couldn't compare to great sage demon kings, they were still full of treasures. Lin Feng didn't need them, but his disciples could. At this moment, the two demon kings suddenly heard Lin Feng's voice. "Come out." The heavenly small world gradually dissipated. The nine-clawed eagle king and the North Sea whale king carefully transformed into human forms. Their true forms were too big. The nine-clawed eagle king transformed into human form. He was tall and sturdy and had a large hooked nose. Beside him stood a strong man over 3 meters tall. It was the North Sea whale king in human form. The two demon kings bowed respectfully to Lin Feng. "Greetings, Celestial Gate Master. We have offended you before. Please forgive us, Celestial Gate Master." They were all a bit nervous in their hearts, nervously looking at Lin Feng, waiting for his final judgment on them. Lin Feng's expression was indifferent. He flicked his finger lightly. Two beams of purple light shot into the nine-clawed eagle king and the North Sea whale king's eyes and went deep into their minds. They wrapped around the necks of their demon infants like two silk threads. The nine-clawed eagle king and the North Sea whale king instinctively wanted to resist. The two purple threads tightened and immediately suffocated the two demon kings. Lin Feng said indifferently, "You all offended me. Originally you would have ended up with your body and soul destroyed, but I remember that the heavens have the virtue of cherishing life. Today I will give you all a chance. Convert to my Xian Gate Sky sect and work for my Xian Gate to make up for your past sins. I will now give you a chance to redeem yourselves. My disciple, Zhu Yi, will be leaving for the great Zhou dynasty's Tianjing city in a few days. One of you will send him off." The two demon kings' faces immediately fell. How could they not understand that Lin Feng wanted to find a mount for Zhu Yi? Most of the demon race are arrogant and untamed. No matter if it's the nine-clawed eagle king or the North Sea whale king, they're both ruthless characters who used to roam freely in the Arctic ice sea. Even if they've been captured by Lin Feng for a long time and a lot of their edges have been worn down, and they fear Lin Feng's remarkable abilities, they're still not willing to be at Lin Feng's beck and call, let alone become the mounts of Lin Feng's disciples. The North Sea whale king lowered his head and didn't make a sound. The nine-clawed eagle king's eyes darted back and forth as he thought, "I'll give in first and take this chance to leave. When the time comes, I'll find a chance to escape." I wonder what his disciple's level of cultivation is. Should I kill him to vent my anger? I'd better not. It might cause trouble. Lin Feng glanced at the nine-clawed eagle king indifferently. The nine-clawed eagle king suddenly felt a chill run down its spine. In the next moment, the thread Lin Feng had wrapped around its demon infant tightened abruptly, almost cutting it in half. The nine-clawed eagle king knelt on the ground in pain and begged for mercy. Lin Feng's calm voice rang out, "Even though you refused to come to your senses, tried to escape, and even had evil thoughts in your heart, I will spare you this time since you reined yourself in at the last moment. You may be spared from death, but you will not be spared from punishment. Take this as a lesson." The purple thread suddenly burst into flames, and the golden flames directly burned the nine-clawed Eagle King's demon infant. In just a short while, the nine-clawed Eagle King was on the verge of death, no longer daring to have any strange thoughts. Even the North Sea Whale King, who was watching from the side, shuddered when he saw this scene. His attitude immediately softened. After the stick was used, there would be carrots. Lin Feng said silently, "If you join my Xianmen Tianzong, as long as you do your job well, I will not treat you badly. You will all have your own cave abodes and can cultivate on my mountain. The spiritual qi there is much more abundant than the Arctic ice sea you used to live in. Other than that, if you do your job well, you will also receive other rewards. That's all I have to say. You can decide for yourselves where you want to go." Chapter 505. If you stay in Xianmen Tianzong, as long as you work hard and remain loyal, your chances of attaining an indestructible demon's soul will be far greater than if you cultivate on your own. Lin Feng's last sentence made the nine-clawed Eagle King and the North Sea Whale King completely relax their mental defenses. Having escaped the shackles of the small worlds formed by Lin Feng's mana, they were now on Jade Capital Mountain. Sensing the abundant spiritual energy here, the two demons knew that Lin Feng was not lying. The cultivation environment here was far better than the Arctic ice sea where they used to live. If they could receive Lin Feng's guidance, their cultivation would be twice the result with half the effort. Lin Feng casually showed them the yellow dragon scale and mentioned Jia Yu's gains, intentionally or unintentionally. This immediately made the nine-clawed Eagle King and the North Sea Whale King even more willing to submit. Using both hard and soft tactics, after a long internal battle, the two great demons prostrated in front of Lin Feng one after another. "We are willing to become Sect Master's disciples, to be at your beck and call, without any disloyalty. We hope that Sect Master can guide us." Lin Feng faintly smiled and separately set up restrictions on the two souls and demon infant. It would not restrict the two demons from using their strength, but as long as he wills it, the two demons' life and death would be out of their control. Lin Feng called the nine-clawed Eagle King forward. "You are a bird-type demon, so your flying speed is even faster. This time, you will escort my disciple, Zhu Yi, to the examination." The nine-clawed Eagle King faced Lin Feng's calm gaze and answered sternly, "I will obey Sect Master's orders. I will do my best to escort your disciple." He was a clever person and continued, "I will listen to Zhu Yi's instructions on the way. Please rest assured, Sect Master. That will be for the best." Lin Feng nodded. "If you do your best, I will not mistreat you." Lin Feng turned to look at the North Sea Whale King on the other side. "Although there are excellent stone chambers and cave abodes on this celestial mountain, I think you're naturally fond of water. I'm afraid you won't be used to it. However, there's no need to worry." He clapped his palms lightly, and an infinite amount of purple gas floated into the air. It surged in the void outside Mount Yujing and instantly turned into a sheet of watery light. The North Sea Whale King took a closer look and found that the water wasn't very big. It was only about an acre in size and resembled a pond. However, it was actually a compressed space. From the outside, it didn't look big, but inside, it was as vast as a vast ocean. It was so vast that it was difficult to find an end. The North Sea Whale King hurriedly cupped his fists towards Lin Feng. "Thank you for your pity, Sect Master." Lin Feng smiled and said, "Go and decorate your new home yourself." The North Sea Whale King flew into the air and landed in the water. Its body flipped over, and it had already transformed into a gigantic whale, floating on the water like a small island. Being in the water, he was pleasantly surprised to find that the water temperature in this region was very low. Other people would feel bone-chilling cold, but it made him feel very comfortable. It was actually similar to the environment of the Arctic ice sea where he had been active in the past. This is Sect Master's intention. Thinking of this, the North Sea Whale King sighed inwardly. Sigh. The nine-clawed Eagle King watched enviously from the side. Lin Feng glanced at him indifferently. "Go and make preparations. You'll be setting off in a few days. Yes, sect master. The nine-clawed eagle king obeyed respectfully. A few days later, Zhu Yi was ready to set off. Lin Feng led the nine-clawed eagle king. This demon transformed into a gigantic golden eagle with 9 claws under its abdomen. When it spread its wings, it could blot out the sky and cover the sun. Zhu Yi already knew that this was the mount Lin Feng had specially prepared for him. A smile appeared on his face. Thank you, master. Lin Feng passed the restriction restraining the nine-clawed eagle king to Zhu Yi so that he could directly control it. Then, he extended a finger and lightly tapped the space between Zhu Yi's eyebrows. Zhu Yi immediately felt an extremely mysterious aura buried in the depths of his consciousness. The existence of this aura did not affect Zhu Yi in the slightest when he cultivated or used his transcendence energy in battle. Although Zhu Yi could clearly sense its existence, it would not affect Zhu Yi's movements in the slightest. Lin Feng said, "That's a theurgy avatar of mine. It's buried in your spirit and can be used for protection, just in case. Normally, it won't affect you in any way, nor will it interfere with your movements. It will only come into play when you're in mortal danger." Zhu Yi nodded. Disciple understands. Thank you, master. Lin Feng was not worried that Zhu Yi would slack off with his avatar protecting him. Zhu Yi had a firm mind and willpower. Even in the face of danger, he would first think of using his own strength to defeat the enemy and not rely on this protective talisman that Lin Feng had given him. Moreover, Lin Feng fully believed that chosen one like Zhu Yi was extremely resilient. Even if they narrowly escaped death, it would only be an embellishment on their path to glory. Turning danger into safety was a matter of course. However, it was better to be safe than sorry, so Lin Feng still gave a theurgy avatar to Zhu Yi. Zhu Yi climbed onto the nine-clawed eagle king's back and turned to look at the other side. There were his 2 inner disciples, Su Yunsheng and Ing Luoza. Besides them, there was also a purple-clothed girl. She was Wang Lin's inner disciple, Li Xingfei, who often came to listen to his lectures. The 3 of them respectfully bowed to Zhu Yi. I wish master a smooth journey. I wish second martial uncle a smooth journey. Zhu Yi nodded. When I'm not on the mountain, cultivate on your own. Don't slack off. When I return, I'll test your Taoist arts. The 3 of them responded in unison. Zhu Yi continued, currently, your cultivation levels are still low. When your cultivation levels are higher, I'll bring you out into the world to train. After reminding Su Yunsheng and the other 2, Zhu Yi bowed to Lin Feng. Master, I'll be leaving now. Lin Feng smiled and nodded. Zhu Yi lightly tapped the nine-clawed eagle king beneath his feet. The huge golden eagle immediately flew up. With Lin Feng's permission, it tore through space and flew away from Mount Yujing, entering the boundless world of the divine land. The nine-clawed eagle king spread its wings and disappeared into the void again, flying toward the capital of the great Zhou dynasty, Tianjing city. After Su Yunsheng, Ing Luoza, and Li Xingfei watched Zhu Yi leave, they secretly glanced at Lin Feng. Other than Ing Luoza, the other 2 were a little nervous. In fact, even the fearless Ing Luoza felt nervous when facing Lin Feng at such a close distance. Lin Feng didn't pay attention to his 3 nervous grand disciples. He also looked in the direction that Zhu Yi had left in. He thought to himself, Xiaoyi's trip to Tianjing city this time will probably cause quite a commotion. With the nine-clawed eagle king as a mount, Zhu Yi arrived within the great Zhou Empire's territory very quickly. Almost as soon as he arrived, the various forces all received the news, whether quickly or slowly. At this moment, it wasn't just Lin Feng. The actions of the important figures within Xianmen Tianzong began to affect the minds of more and more people. Emperor Liang Pan of the Great Zhou was, without a doubt, the first to receive the news. He sat on his throne, silently looking at the desk in front of him. He didn't say anything. Chief steward of the imperial palace, Mei Wulang, quietly and respectfully stood below. Liang Pan thought for a moment, then slowly said, Wulang, notify Hongwu that now is not the time. Mei Wulang respectfully replied, your servant understands. He hesitated slightly, carefully looking towards Emperor Liang Pan. Your Majesty, regarding the son of the Marquis of Xuanji, Zhu Yi, do you need me to give him some pointers? Liang Pan smiled, no need, he's also a smart person. We believe he knows what he can do and what he can't do. He lightly sighed, it's a pity, this should have been a talent of my great Zhou. However, at least he didn't fall into the hands of Taishu Temple. After Mei Wulang left, only Liang Pan of the Great Zhou was left in the hall. An even lower and almost inaudible sigh sounded out again. Perhaps it would have been better if he had fallen into the hands of Taishu Temple. After receiving Liang Pan's orders from Mei Wulang, the Marquis of Xuanji, Zhu Hongguo, silently sat on a chair in the main hall of the house of the Marquis of Xuanji, deep in thought. On the seat below him sat a woman wearing a light green feathered dress with golden threads. Her hair was tall and straight, a pure gold hollowed-out peacock hairpin in her hair. She looked around 30 but not 40 years old, her bearing graceful and noble. Hongguo, that woman's son is about to return. This woman is the Marquis of Xuanji Zhu Hongwu's official wife, Madame Xiao. She looks like she doesn't have any cultivation and is just an ordinary secular woman, but she firmly occupies the position of the main wife of the house of the Marquis of Xuanji. Last time he came in a hurry and left in a hurry, not causing any waves. But this time he's really about to return. Madame Xiao said silently, I heard people say that with his current cultivation, in the entire house of the Marquis, apart from you, there's no one who can control him. Madame Xiao lightly let out a breath, I'm afraid his return this time is not simple. There are rumors that he and the fourth Prince Qian are very close. At this time Zhu Hongguo opened his mouth silently, the crown prince is the legitimate heir, the foundation of the country. Getting rid of the old and replacing the young will cause endless trouble in the future. Your Majesty is very clear in your heart that the fourth prince has no chance. Anyone who gets involved in the quagmire of the fight for the throne will not have a good ending. If Zhu Yi gets involved then he's looking for trouble. Zhu Hongguo said, don't worry, he won't be able to cause any waves, I know what I'm doing. Madame Xiao's lips moved, almost squeezing out a sentence from between her teeth. I heard that his master, Zhu Hongguo raised his hand and interrupted her, no matter if it's my Zhou dynasty or the other side, right now it's still not the time to truly cause a great storm. When the true great storm starts, unimportant small boats will sink at the first instant. At that time I'll personally take care of that unfilial son. You can leave, I'm going to start training. Madame Xiao nodded, after so many years, you've always had a plan in mind. Since you've said so, I won't disturb you anymore. Just focus on your training. She walked out of the hall, a trace of worry flashing across her face. In the past, when Hongguo made a decision, I always felt at ease. But this time, I can't feel at ease. I feel like trouble is about to break out. Zhu Yi's trip to Tianjin City for the fall quarter examinations had affected more than 1 or 2 people. At this moment, in Tianjin City, there were 2 people strolling on the streets. They seemed to be nonchalant, but in reality, they were communicating telepathically. One of them was a middle-aged scholar, and the other was a handsome young man. They were the advisor from the Golden Elixir period under the command of the Zhou dynasty's prince, Liang Qian, and the disciple from beyond Sky Mountain, Chu Yang, who had met Lin Feng once. Last time Zhu Yi came and left in a hurry, so I didn't have a chance to interact with him. This time, he's taking the fall quarter examinations, so it's a great opportunity, the middle-aged scholar said telepathically to Chu Yang, but he saw that Chu Yang was a little distracted. As Chu Yang walked, he turned his head to look behind him. Why does that place make my heart palpitate? The direction that caught his attention was the mansion of the Zhou dynasty's crown prince, Qinyu. Chapter 506. Chu Yang gazed at the mansion of the great Zhou dynasty's crown prince, Qinyu, in a daze. He felt as if there was something there that attracted him, making his heart palpitate. It was as if he would regret it for the rest of his life if he missed it. Beside him was a middle-aged cultivator of the Golden Elixir period called Lu Bin. He was the 4th Prince Liang Qian's trusted aide. After spending a year with Chu Yang, he knew that this young man was not ordinary, but he would often be absent-minded like this. Lu Bin said, although Qin Yu does not cultivate the Tao, he has a good official reputation and outstanding talent. For the crown prince, he will undoubtedly be a great help. Chu Yang came back to his senses and nodded. Yes, that is indeed the case. You are in charge of intelligence. What, do you feel that something is wrong with Qin Yu? Lu Bin also turned to look at Qin Yu's mansion. Or have you found something on him? Chu Yang's intuition told him that the reason for his palpitations was not Qin Yu himself, but the feeling in his heart was faintly discernible, sometimes absent, and he could not make head or tail of it. It would be easy to get rid of this person, but I'm afraid it would be difficult to explain to the emperor. It would be a taboo and have the opposite effect. Chu Yang went with the flow and replied without a change in expression, from the looks of it, Qin Yu doesn't have any weaknesses that I can exploit. However, from the recent reports, he and the crown prince are somewhat estranged. They aren't as close as before. I do not know the reason, but I will pay attention to this. Whether Qin Yu falls or betrays the crown prince, it is a good thing for His Highness. Lu Bin said, that is indeed the case. In addition, more and more people are starting to think highly of His Highness. Fourth Prince Liang Qian had previously visited Kunlun Mountain and Shu Mountain and had successfully completed his mission. He had done his job well and received the praise of Emperor Liang Pan, even receiving the title of Prince of Zhou. For the great Zhou dynasty, Zhou was the title of the country and was not easily conferred. Only before the crown prince was chosen would a prince be conferred the title of Prince of Zhou. This was usually seen as a rehearsal for the succession. When Emperor Liang Pan was still a prince, and the current crown prince, Liang Yuan, had both been conferred the title of Prince of Zhou. But now, Liang Yuan was still sitting on the throne of the Eastern Palace crown prince, while the fourth prince, Liang Qian, had been conferred the title of Prince of Zhou. This matter had undoubtedly caused a violent earthquake in the imperial court of the great Zhou dynasty. Emperor Liang's thoughts caused his officials to rack their brains to think, trying to guess the hidden meaning behind each of his movements. Some thought that Crown Prince Liang Yuan's position as heir apparent was unstable, while others thought that Emperor Liang Pan was just testing the waters. There were all sorts of speculations. The ministers were also racking their brains. Liang Pan's control over the great Zhou dynasty's court was quite strong. Most of them decided to bide their time and observe the situation. However, there were also a few people who had some ideas and started to draw closer to the fourth prince, Liang Qian. Lu Bin changed the topic. Last time, Zhu Yi came and left in a hurry. He only had a short conversation with the fourth prince. This time, he has come to take the fall examinations. After the fall examinations, it will be the court examinations. He will definitely stay in Tianjing City for a long time. Chu Yang nodded. This is indeed a good opportunity to get in touch with Zhu Yi, but we have to be careful. Xianmen Tianzong is, after all, external help. If we get too close, I'm afraid that the one sitting in the imperial city will not be happy. The two looked at each other and sighed. No one had thought that Xianmen Tianzong would be so powerful that even the Mount Shu sword sect had suffered a great loss in front of Lin Feng. As Xianmen Tianzong's influence grew, the fourth prince, Liang Qian, could no longer be too close to Xianmen Tianzong. But the stronger Xianmen Tianzong was, the more powerful a support he could not ignore. His control of distance and propriety was a very challenging thing. When he thought of Lin Feng, Chu Yang's heart grew heavier. In the Kunlun mountain range, he had successfully detected traces of the assassination. This achievement had allowed him to establish a firm foothold under Liang Qian. But perhaps the other was overly cautious, or perhaps there was a large error in his memory, but the assassination did not proceed as planned. The other had easily given up. In Chu Yang's memory, the fuse that had caused the clash between the great Zhou dynasty and the Mount Shu sword sect, the Kunlun mountain range assassination had disappeared without a trace. In reality, although Chu Yang, Liang Qian, Lu Bin, and the others had realized the existence of the assassination, all of them broke out in a cold sweat. They had no confidence that they could safely pass through this crisis. At the time, Lu Bin had already advised Liang Qian to cancel the visit out of consideration for his safety and return home. In the end, the storm that had been brewing quickly calmed down. Liang Qian had successfully visited Xianmen Tianzong and the Mount Shu sword sect, then returned to the great Zhou dynasty unscathed and was rewarded by Emperor Liang Pan of Zhou. The great Zhou dynasty and the Mount Shu sword sect were also at peace. However, at the Tianjia Peak meeting, the Mount Shu sword sect had run over to cause trouble and clashed with Lin Feng. In the end, they had been defeated. But none of this had anything to do with Liang Qian, Chu Yang, or Beyond Heaven Mountain. Liang Qian had safely stayed in Tianjing City as the newly minted emperor of Zhou. Beyond Heaven Mountain was safe and sound. It had not become a sacrifice in the clash between the two superpowers. If everything had developed according to Chu Yang's seemingly illusory memories, where he could not tell if it was a dream or the real future, Beyond Heaven Mountain would have been destroyed because of the assassination. Chu Yang was happy about this, but he was also a little fearful. Because the development of the real world was completely different from what he remembered. If it was because he had foreseen the future and changed the course of events, Chu Yang would feel gratified. But the changes in the current situation did not have much to do with him. At the very least, his hard work was not the main factor. This made Chu Yang feel fearful. It was as if Lin Feng had never existed in his memories. This made Chu Yang gradually start to suspect, could it really be that it was just a simple dream? After returning to Tianjing City with Liang Qian from Kunlun Mountain and Mount Shu, Chu Yang's nerves were still tense. He was on guard against Wu Qingru and the great Qin dynasty's next move. But in the end, his nervousness was for nothing. Wu Qingru seemed to have completely given up on her original plan of having the Mount Shu sword sect and the great Zhou dynasty restrict each other. After Chu Yang carefully summarized the information from all sides, he gradually figured out a few things. Xianmen Tianzong had replaced the great Zhou dynasty and become the opponent of the Mount Shu sword sect. At this moment, Chu Yang's emotions were undoubtedly complicated. He had tried to use his foresight to change the fate of himself and Beyond Heaven Mountain. In the end, fate had really changed, but the person who had caused all of this to happen was not him. In fact, the person who had controlled the situation and changed the situation was at a level too high, so high that Chu Yang could not see through the game between them. No matter what, Beyond Heaven Mountain and Master will be fine. That's good, that's good. Chu Yang took a deep breath. Apart from that, the only thing that I miss is Qinggu. Qinggu. Chu Yang's mind suddenly flashed. He had originally started walking forward with Lu Bin, but now he suddenly stopped and turned back to look at Qin Yu's residence. Could it be that Qinggu is there? Although he felt that it was somewhat absurd, Chu Yang felt the throbbing in his heart grow stronger and stronger. When he gradually calmed down, Chu Yang suddenly felt his body become somewhat cold. The strange changes in the assassination once again appeared in his mind. This time, will there be changes that are completely different from what I remember? On Jade Capital Mountain, Lin Feng sat cross-legged on the mysterious sky treasure tree silently. He analyzed Taoist techniques and sacrificial refined his Dharma treasure. He still did not know that he had brought great trouble to an outstanding young man who had a bright future and had 5 stresses and 4 beauties. At this moment, Lin Feng was more concerned about his Dharma treasure. After a long time, he slowly retracted his magic power and shook his head. Using Dharma treasures is enjoyable, but sacrificial refining is really a time-consuming and laborious matter. Enlightening a Dharma treasure's spiritual consciousness and carrying out the preliminary refinement was a test of a cultivator's cultivation base. However, if the enlightenment was successful, it would not take too long. It was just that the subsequent sacrificial refinement was time-consuming and laborious. If one wanted to complete the refinement, they would need a lot of time and energy. As Lin Feng pondered, he suddenly had a thought. He raised his head and looked in the direction of Shaoyan's burning heaven cliff. This feeling, it seems like something is being nurtured and born. Subsequently, he heard Xiao Yan's somewhat anxious voice transmission using magic power. Master, there's something wrong with the wudong tree's heart. Lin Feng frowned slightly. In the next moment, he arrived in front of Xiao Yan in Burning Heaven Cliff. He saw his eldest disciple sitting cross-legged with a grim expression. He was holding a crimson redwood that was about a foot long. It was the wudong tree's heart. At the moment, the wudong tree's heart's color was dim and slightly black. It was not radiating heat like usual. However, be it Lin Feng or Xiao Yan, they could clearly sense that the wudong tree's heart had not lost its vitality. On the contrary, all of its spiritual qi was gathering toward the center. It seemed like a primeval universe was being nurtured there, and it also seemed like a newborn life was being born. Lin Feng clicked his tongue in wonder in his heart. At the very beginning, when I first obtained this thing, I was unable to explore the deeper secrets within. I was still thinking that it should require other divine wudong trees or the phoenix bloodline. Lin Feng thought about it and knew why the wudong tree's heart had changed. The primordial heaven opening skill. This was the remarkable skill that Lin Feng had comprehended after attaining the Essence Soul stage. It contained the peak essence of the four guardians of heaven opening book. Lin Feng had comprehended the great Tao of creation, hence the birth of the primordial heaven opening skill. After comprehending this power concept, Lin Feng had played with the wudong tree's heart. There were no changes at the beginning, but the power concept of creation and the beginning of creation had affected the wudong tree's heart, causing it to slowly transform. However, it had been given to Xiao Yan to assist him in his cultivation, so Lin Feng did not take it to heart. Xiao Yan had obtained Lin Feng's four guardians of heaven opening book. Although he did not comprehend the wonders of creation like Lin Feng, the Tao was of the same origin. Moreover, he had the three great true fires and cultivated with the wudong tree's heart day and night, which further stimulated the changes. After a long period of nurturing, the wudong tree's heart was finally going to transform. Chapter 507. As Xiao Yan sensed the changes in the wudong tree heart, he sensed that the signs of life in it were becoming more intense, and its self-consciousness was becoming clearer. Xiao Yan lifted his head to look at Lin Feng. Master, is the wudong tree heart going to turn into a demon? Lin Feng looked at the wudong tree heart rather interestedly and shook his head. This is only a tree heart. It's not a complete divine wudong tree, but a part of it that was stripped from an extremely powerful divine wudong tree. After postnatal cultivation, it has the potential to turn into a demon, but it's not turning into a demon now. Although it has self-consciousness and is a brand new life, it's not a demon. If I must describe it, it's a spiritual monster, and it's an existence similar to Tian Qihua. Xiao Yan scrutinized the wudong tree heart and mumbled, this thing feels so powerful. Not bad. Although it's still very young, its power and intent realm are extraordinary, and its potential is extremely high. Lin Feng nodded and suddenly smiled. Lil Yan, you're no different from incubating an egg. You've incubated a pretty good treasure. Xiao Yan's expression immediately fell, and he looked at Lin Feng, not knowing whether to laugh or cry. Master, I'll admit it if it's really an egg, but it's just a piece of wood. How can I incubate it? As the master-disciple duo chatted, they watched as the wudong tree heart's radiance dimmed completely, as if it had turned into charcoal. In the next moment, a dazzling red light suddenly erupted from the pitch-black wudong tree heart, and a tiny figure appeared in the red light. Lin Feng and Luo Binghe looked over and saw that it was a little girl that looked like she was carved out of jade. She looked to be only 2 or 3 years old, her chubby little hand brought up to her mouth, sucking on a pink and white finger, her 2 big black eyes rolling around. When the little girl saw Xiao Yan, her big, bright, and quick-witted eyes sparkled with joy and intimacy. She spread her arms and pounced into Xiao Yan's embrace. She's quite a cute little girl. Xiao Yan chuckled and hurriedly hugged her, but before he could even react, a clear child's voice instantly made him petrified. Father. His voice was crisp and melodious, clean and tidy. There was no hesitation at all. However, it was like a thunderclap on the ground. Xiao Yan's hand trembled. He almost threw the little girl to the ground. The eldest disciple of the celestial sect of wonders, who had always been fearless of heaven and earth. He stared dumbfoundedly at the little girl in his arms. The two people, one big and one small, stared at each other for a long time. Xiao Yan turned his completely stiff neck. You. What did you call me just now? His voice was a little unclear, as if his tongue was in a knot. The little girl was very straightforward. She called out again in a loud and clear voice, Father. Xiao Yan instantly had the urge to look at the sky at a 45-degree angle and cry speechlessly. To him, even if there was a primordial divinity realm bull standing in front of him right now, he would still dare to rush up and fight it. Even if it was the most dangerous place in the world, he would not frown. He would talk and laugh calmly as he moved forward. But now, Xiao Yan really did not know whether he should cry or laugh. I'm still a boy, so how did I suddenly become a father? After being dumbfounded at first, Xiao Yan came to a realization. Before the wudong tree's heart gave birth to the little girl, he had been cultivating it by using his magic power, the Nan Mingli fire, the Sun Real fire, and the Nether Evil light to nurture it. Once the wudong tree's heart developed a consciousness, it naturally regarded Xiao Yan as its parent. Xiao Yan flashed a smile that was uglier than crying. He wanted to correct the little girl, but he noticed that she was looking at him with a pair of bright and pure eyes that were filled with intimacy and joy. Master. Xiao Yan looked towards Lin Feng with a bitter smile. Lin Feng smiled saying, Only now have I discovered that you're actually the king of children under Master's tutelage. After Tian Qihua, looks like there's going to be another little tail behind you. Is this considered becoming a father? Lin Feng thought rather unscrupulously in his heart, and then he saw the little girl hanging on Xiao Yan's neck like a little koala, blinking her pair of big eyes, her gaze looking over towards him, her gaze even more joyful. Grandpa. The stone room was dead silent at once, and the little girl's pleasant voice was the only thing that was still echoing in the air. Lin Feng almost vomited blood on the spot, and he stared blankly at the little girl. I still remember running under the setting sun that day. That was my lost youth. Lost, son of a bitch. I've become a grandfather just like that. Lin Feng smiled bitterly and glanced at Xiao Yan. Just like that, one became a father, while the other became a grandfather. Fundamentally speaking, Lin Feng's four symbols heaven-opening book's grand power conception of the universe's creation prompted the wudong tree's heart to change. Xiao Yan also smiled bitterly. He hugged the little girl and coaxed her, Call me Godfather. It's Godfather, not father. The little girl put a finger in her mouth and looked at Xiao Yan in confusion. She did not understand why he had suddenly become a godfather when he was clearly a father. Lin Feng did not know whether to laugh or cry. He composed himself and asked, What's your name? I'm Tong, the little girl answered in a childish voice. Lin Feng nodded. There was a rumor that, just like the phoenixes, where the phoenixes were male and the phoenixes were female, the wudong tree was also a combination of the wudong tree and the wudong tree. The wudong tree was male, and the wudong tree was female. They lived and died together. Lin Feng looked at her and said calmly, Yes, from today onwards, you're called Xiao Tong. The little girl nodded hard and answered loudly, Yes. Xiao Yan was shocked and hurriedly said, It's not Xiao Tong, it's Lin Tong, Lin Tong. He turned to look at Lin Feng with a bitter face. Master, you really have to be merciful this time. Otherwise, I won't be able to explain it to Zhen. If she misunderstands that I'm related to the wudong tree spirit and ended up having this little guy, I won't be able to explain myself no matter how many mouths I have. Lin Feng smiled and said, It's fine. Just say that I named him. I'll take the blame for this. Xiao Yan glanced at Lin Feng when he heard this. His expression was tranquil and he was dressed in purple. He looked dignified as a teacher. Even if I say it, it'll only work if Zhen is willing to believe me. Xiao Yan smiled bitterly and looked pitifully at Lin Feng. Lin Feng smiled and shook his head, no longer joking with him. Instead, he looked at little Lin Tong, who was still in Xiao Yan's arms. Lin Feng thought, this little guy will be very amazing when he grows up. The master and disciple brought the little girl into the mysterious heaven eternal light paradise. Inside, Tian Qihua was still snoring, but when little Lin Tong approached, his snoring suddenly stopped. He turned over and sat up, rubbing his eyes in a daze. The fat baby, who was covered in mud and yellow, looked at little Lin Tong with sleepy eyes. The sleepiness in his eyes gradually disappeared. Tian Qihua, who usually ignored people and only focused on his fire, had a look of surprise in his eyes and started babbling. Lin Tong looked at him curiously. Xiao Yan put her on the ground, and the little girl ran to Tian Qihua's side with her short legs. Two chubby hands held each other, and red and yellow lights intertwined and flickered. Under the situation where the two colors of light shone and reflected off each other, Lin Feng and Xiao Yan could both clearly feel that their respective spirit energy was in a state of growth. The two little dolls were beaming with joy, and Lin Tong was also babbling like a lucky doll. They seemed to be able to understand each other's words, and they seemed to be incomparably joyful and happy. Xiao Yan looked at this scene and praised, Tong is formed from the wudong tree heart. The divine wudong tree not only has a strong vitality, but it also contains abundant and blazing fire spiritual power. Tian Qihua happens to love fire's spiritual power the most. Although the wudong tree heart doesn't have the 7 great true fires, the quality of the fire's spiritual power is extremely high. Tian Qihua is formed from the Tian Qihua spiritual soil, which is the best soil for nurturing plants and spiritual trees. It can also nourish Tong they complement each other perfectly. Lin Feng looked at the two little guys holding hands at his feet, skipping and running around him and Xiao Yan together, a smile also appearing on his face. The two of them can be a pair of playmates. He turned to look at Xiao Yan and smiled. From now on, apart from Tian Qihua, Tong will be under your care. Xiao Yan looked like he had accepted his fate and nodded helplessly. I knew you'd give me that order, master. In the following period of time, other than his own cultivation and pill refining, Xiao Yan had another job, and that was to take care of the two children. One day, Xiao Yan finally managed to get Lin Tong and Tian Qihua, who were clinging to him, to come down. Suddenly, Xiao Yan was stunned. He took out a sound transmission crystal and crushed it. Song Fu's voice came from the other side. Fellow Taoist Xiao. Xiao Yan had successfully advanced to the late stage of the golden elixir, subdued the 3 great true fires, and ended his seclusion. As the eldest disciple of the sect master under Lin Feng, he took over the responsibility of communicating with the outside world from Zhu Yi. Song Fu's voice was very polite. Although he was a Yuanying cultivator and Xiao Yan hadn't formed his nascent soul yet, Song Fu didn't treat him lightly. Fellow Taoist Xiao, someone asked me to come up the mountain and pay a visit to Sect Master Lin. I hope you can report this to him. Hearing the solemnity in Song Fu's voice, Xiao Yan frowned slightly. Without ending the communication, he went to look for Lin Feng. After meeting Lin Feng, he continued to ask, May I ask who they are and why they want to come up the mountain, Steward Song? Song Fu paused for a while before answering, they're from the Phoenix race of Infinite Mainland. There are 2 Phoenix race powerhouses, and one of them has already attained an indestructible demon soul. Upon hearing this, Lin Feng and Xiao Yan looked down at Lin Tong, who was playing happily with Tian Qihua. Even if you used your knees to think, you would know what the other party was after. After the Phoenix race had helped the Kunpeng break through the manifold mystic ice, they had also entered the Kunpeng's secret treasure. Their target must have been the Wudong tree heart. Unfortunately, the ancient Kunpeng's revival was stopped by Lin Feng, and its remains were split into 2. The demonic phoenix Black Jade, which had entered the secret treasure with the black-feathered Kunpeng, was left in the black-feathered Kunpeng's body, while the Wudong tree heart was left with Lin Feng. In ancient times, there was a saying that planting a wudong would attract phoenixes. The phoenix race was arrogant and would not perch on anything other than a wudong. They must have taken the initiative to visit for the Wudong tree heart. Although they didn't know why they were looking for it, they could tell that they were determined to get it from the fact that they didn't hesitate to enter the Divine Land's human world. Xiao Yan looked at Lin Feng, and Lin Feng smiled faintly. Let them come. As he spoke, he waved his hand and a crack appeared in the void in front of him. Boundless purple chi passed through the distant space and directly descended into the Divine Land's boundless world, arriving outside the Sand State City. Chapter 508. 2 spots of light flew out of the Sand Continent City, one red and one black. Both of them flashed with a golden radiance and emitted a powerful demonic force. However, this kind of demonic energy didn't seem ferocious or violent. Instead, it was noble and prideful, with a sense of transcendence, but it also seemed exceptionally arrogant. The spots of light landed on Lin Feng's purple aura cloud bridge. The purple aura rolled and brought them back to Jade Jing Mountain. Lin Feng silently looked at the 2 figures in front of him. As the light and shadow changed, he could vaguely see the 2 phoenixes gradually turning into human forms. When the golden light dissipated, a man and a woman appeared in front of Lin Feng. The man looked like a middle-aged man in his 40s. He was tall and thin and wore a red luxurious robe. His long hair was not tied up and casually spread behind his shoulders. His face was simple and he had an elegant aura. Beside him was a girl in black. She looked like she was only 13 or 14 years old. She had a beautiful face and a refined aura. What they had in common was that their eyes were extremely clear. They looked at Lin Feng calmly. They were neither servile nor overbearing. Their attitudes were gentle and polite, but they kept a distance. The middle-aged man said, "Are you the master of the Celestial Gate?" "I'm Fei Yi from the Red Phoenix race." "Greetings." The girl beside him bowed to Lin Feng. "I'm Mo from the Black Phoenix race." "Greetings, master of the Celestial Gate." Lin Feng's gaze landed on Fei Yi and he felt the demonic energy around him fluctuate majestically. It was not ostentatious, nor was it purposely suppressed. It just spread out like this, revealing that he has already formed an indestructible demon soul. Unlike the Golden Crow, Cheong Chi, and other demon clans, where a great saint-level demon beast would be surrounded and killed by the human experts when it came to the vast land of the Divine Land, the Phoenix clan was a little special. They rarely entered the vast land of the Divine Land, and even if they did, most of the human cultivators would turn a blind eye to them. The Phoenix race had always been independent in the demon realm. They never intervened in the disputes of others. Because of their powerful strength, others were not willing to provoke them. All along, this race had pursued the policy of an isolated island and was almost independent of Tianhuang mainland. Although they were not completely isolated, they rarely interacted with the outside world. Because of this reason, the Phoenix clan rarely participated in the war between the human clan and the demon clan. Moreover, the Phoenix clan was noble and peaceful. Even if powerful warriors occasionally entered the Divine Land, as long as no one provoked them, the Phoenix clan would not cause any damage to the human clan. Therefore, in the past 10,000 years, the relationship between the Phoenix clan and the cultivation world of the human clan had been relatively harmonious. Of course, this was also related to the powerful strength of the Phoenix clan. Including the 3 Holy Lands, no one was willing to completely push the Phoenix clan to the opposite side of the Divine Land. Lin Feng's gaze shifted to the other side, and he looked at Mo as he sensed the fluctuations of her demonic energy. She's slightly familiar. The phoenix that broke through the 1,000-year-old ice and followed the rock into the treasure trove seemed to be her. With a glance, Lin Feng could tell that Mo was currently at the late-stage Demon King realm. Moreover, compared to the lifespan of the Phoenix clan, she was still very young. Being able to cultivate to this realm at such a young age, she should be one of the top geniuses even in the Phoenix clan. Long Yi, who had not fought with Yan Mingyue in the past and had yet to achieve an indestructible demon soul, Fox Yan of the Heavenly Fox clan, the Black Feather Rock that entered the treasure trove in an attempt to resurrect the ancient rock, and Mo in front of him. Presumably, they were the rising stars of the demon clan in recent years. At this moment, they had already risen and were only waiting for an indestructible demon soul to completely ascend to the stage. Among them, Long Yi was even one step ahead of them. While Lin Feng was sizing them up, Fei Yi and Mo Yu were also silently observing him. However, whether it was Mo Yu or Fei Yi who had already achieved an indestructible demon soul, they found that they could not see through Lin Feng at all. It was not that he was immeasurably powerful, but at this moment, in front of them, Lin Feng was like an ordinary person who had not cultivated Tao at all. The question was this possible? It was precisely because of this that Fei Yi and Mo Yu felt that Lin Feng was unfathomable. At this moment, Xiao Yan had also come out of the mysterious Heaven-Time cave. Silently standing behind Lin Feng, he naturally fell into the eyes of Fei Yi and Mo Yu. This time, they could see through the level of Xiao Yan's cultivation at a glance. There was no mistaking his cultivation at the late stage of the golden elixir, but Fei Yi and Mo Yu could faintly sense that there was an extremely terrifying aura hidden in Xiao Yan's body. Fei Yi was fine, but Mo Yu, who was already at the late stage of the Demon King realm and was only a step away from achieving an indestructible demon soul, actually felt a sense of danger when looking at Xiao Yan. It was as if this young man in purple clothes with black clothes on the outside had the ability to endanger her life. Although Mo Yu did not show it on the surface, he was actually surprised in the bottom of his heart, even though there was a difference of an entire great realm between them. Lin Feng calmly looked at Fei Yi and Mo Yu and faintly said, "What are the two of you here for?" Fei Yi straightforwardly said, "In the past, our clan had a supreme treasure called the Wudong Tree Heart. 10,000 years ago, we lent it to the Ocean Sky Kunpeng Sage. Later on, the Ocean Sky Kunpeng Sage perished in the Divine Land, causing our clan's supreme treasure to be lost in the Arctic Sea of the Divine Land. The Ocean Sky Kunpeng Sage was the Ocean Sky Kunpeng Sage who achieved the third level of the indestructible demon soul in ancient times. Previously, the current patriarch of the Kunpeng clan, the Azure Sky Kunpeng Sage, sent his son, Heiyu, into the Ocean Sky Kunpeng Sage's inheritance. My clan's junior, Mo Yu, also went with him to retrieve the lost Wudong Tree Heart." As Fei Yi spoke, he looked at Mo Yu, who was beside him. But in the end, a great change occurred and they failed. Fei Yi looked at Lin Feng and silently said, "This time, we came in the hope that the Celestial Gate Master can return our clan's treasure." Lin Feng smiled and did not say anything. Naturally, Xiao Yan, who was standing behind him, did not say anything either. For a moment, both parties did not say anything and the situation became a little awkward. Xiao Yan raised his eyebrows and his expression gradually became strange. He used his transcendence energy to transmit his voice to Lin Feng, "Master, is this phoenix trying to get something for nothing?" Lin Feng smiled. "That's not the case. It's just that this clan's way of thinking is like this. According to the Phoenix clan's moral standards and way of thinking, it's normal for me to retrieve something that I've lost. It's only natural for me to return it to its rightful owner, no matter what happened before. Even if you didn't snatch this thing from me, since you picked it up, you should return it to me. There's no such thing as a transaction. Don't think of asking me to repay you. I don't need to express any gratitude to you because it's mine to begin with. On the contrary, if I picked up your thing, I would definitely return it to you regardless of the cost. I might even take the initiative to return it to you." From the way Fei Yi, Mo Yu, and the rest thought since they were young, this was a matter of course. After listening to Lin Feng's words, Xiao Yan grinned. To be honest, this Wudong Tree's heart has changed hands a few times, so its ownership should have been redefined long ago. Does it really belong to him just because he said it's his? At the very least, it's his, but that doesn't mean others have to follow his moral standards. The corner of Lin Feng's mouth curled up into a light smile. So, since ancient times, when the Phoenix race and other races have conflicts, it's usually because other people have provoked them, then they fight back. In a few cases, the Phoenix race initiates a fight, it's all because of the clash of ideas. Xiao Yan remained calm and collected, but he began to scrutinize Fei Yi and Mo Yu. Master, what are they doing? Trying peaceful means before resorting to force? Not really. I can only say that they're testing us. They want to see if we have the same ideologies as them. Lin Feng smiled unconcernedly. At this point in time, as long as it's not a completely irreconcilable conflict or a life and death enmity, then there's no power in the entire heaven primal world that will easily start a war with the Xian Gate Sky sect. No one was willing to provoke the Phoenix clan, but similarly, no one would easily provoke Lin Feng. Xiao Yan asked, Master, then Lin Feng replied faintly, they don't have a say in today's matter, so there's no need for us to say anything. The person involved can make her own decision. Xiao Yan came to a realization. That's right. Tong already has her own consciousness, so she should make her own decision. Finally, Lin Feng instructed, there's no need to inform Tong in advance, and there's no need to instill her thoughts in advance. Let her make her own decision. Master. Xiao Yan was a little surprised, but when he saw Lin Feng's indifferent expression, Xiao Yan revealed a thoughtful expression. The exchange of sound transmissions between the master and disciple ended. Lin Feng opened his mouth and said, Go bring Tong over to see the two of the Phoenix race. Xiao Yan nodded his head, his figure disappearing on the spot. After Xiao Yan left, Fei Yi and Mou's expressions slightly relaxed. The awkward atmosphere just now was indeed a little awkward. Aside from Lin Feng and his disciple, Fei Yi and Mou were also secretly communicating with each other. Uncle, if the master of the Celestial Gate insists on not returning our Wudong tree heart, what should we do? Mou asked. The tree's sovereign has been waiting for us. Fei Ye's expression did not change. After a moment of silence, he said, Right now, the clan is also divided into two factions. One faction thinks that we should negotiate with Xianmen Tianzong and take back the tree heart through peaceful means. The other faction thinks that we should simply take back the tree heart by force and not bow to the greed of humans. Mou frowned slightly. The ideology of the human clan is too different from ours, Fei Yi said, the price of fighting with Xianmen Tianzong is too high, but we have to be mentally prepared in this regard. As the two of them were talking, they heard Lin Feng asking Xiao Yan to bring the Wudong tree heart over. For a moment, they were relieved. After all, just standing in front of Lin Feng on Mount Yujing made them feel pressured. However, Fei Yi and Mou were slightly stunned when they heard the term Tong. Does this mean that the Wudong tree heart has already become a spirit and developed its own consciousness? Has it become a spirit? This was somewhat out of their expectations. However, the two phoenixes were still confident that as long as Lin Feng and his disciple did not stop them, they believed that they could successfully convince little Lin Tong to return to Infinite Wilderness with them. After all, that's her hometown, and her clansmen are there. Even if she hasn't become a demon, she's still a divine Wudong. Fei Yi and Mou exchanged glances as the same thought appeared in their minds. Very soon, Xiao Yan returned with little Lin Tong. The little fellow sucked on her fingers and looked at Fei Yi and Mou curiously with her big eyes. Her intuition told her that these two strangers were rather close to her. Fei Yi and Mou were instantly more confident when they noticed Lin Tong's gaze. The phoenixes and the Wudong had been companions for countless years, so it was impossible for their bloodline to be severed. Fei Yi was in a good mood. If the master of the Celestial Gate and his disciple don't interfere and let this little girl make her own decision, then there won't be a problem at all. Chapter 509. From Fei Yi and Mou's point of view, although little Lin Tong had interacted with Lin Feng and his disciple previously, it shouldn't have been long. Even if they had some feelings for each other, it shouldn't be able to overcome the attachment of blood relatives. Little Lin Tong had an extraordinary background and was nurtured into a spirit by the Wudong tree heart. Although she was young and ignorant, she was extremely talented and could clearly sense the closeness between her and the other divine Wudong trees and the Phoenix clan. Therefore, Fei Yi and Mou were very confident that they could convince little Lin Tong to return to Infinite Wilderness vast land with them. Especially when they saw little Lin Tong's ignorant look as if she didn't know what was going on, Fei Yi and Mou's mood became even better. Looks like the master of Xian Gate and his disciple didn't tell her what happened in advance, so they definitely wouldn't have instilled thoughts in advance to affect her judgment. Mou thought, if that's the case, this master of Xian Gate is also a rather magnanimous person. He disdains doing such petty tricks. Fei Yi had the same thought, this trip was finally worthwhile. It's naturally for the best if we can avoid a conflict with Xianmen Tianzong. As they thought about it, the two phoenixes explained the purpose of their visit to little Lin Tong. Lin Tong nestled in Xiao Yan's embrace and sucked on her fingers as she asked, after I go to infinite wilderness vast land, can I still return to the mountain? Fei Yi smiled without saying anything, while Mou also smiled and looked at Lin Tong. Of course you can. After returning to the Wudong forest, we won't restrict your freedom. You can come out to relax, but for your safety, we'll escort you. Fei Yi nodded and thought, she's been together with the master of Xian Gate and his disciple for a period of time after all. It's normal for her to have some feelings for him. This child is very good. As they thought about it, they suddenly noticed that little Lin Tong's expression was a little off. Her smile disappeared and her delicate brows gradually furrowed. She interrupted Mou with a childish voice, you mean, I'll be staying at your side for a long time and can only come back to see Daddy and Grandpa occasionally? Of course, the Wudong forest is your home after all. Fei Yi and Mou didn't react at first, but they suddenly noticed the main point in Lin Tong's words and couldn't help but be stunned. Daddy and Grandpa. At this time, Lin Tong was already shouting, if that's the case, I don't want it. I'm not going with you. Lin Tong stretched out her chubby arms and hugged Xiao Yan's neck. I want to live with Daddy and Grandpa. Xiao Yan was half distressed and half dotingly rubbed her little head. I've told you many times that I'm your godfather, not your father. He turned to look at the other side and saw that Fei Yi and Mou's expressions were as if they had swallowed a dead rat. Fei Yi took a deep breath and looked at Lin Tong, then at Lin Feng and Xiao Yan. This child wasn't born naturally, but was nurtured by your esteemed master and disciple. He quickly understood the reason behind this and immediately felt a headache coming on. Lin Feng lightly said, this little guy is pure and innocent. I hope the two of you won't blame him for his rudeness. Fei Yi and Mou nodded helplessly. This time, they really didn't know what to do. If the Wudong tree's heart did not have its own consciousness, it would be treated as an object. Whether it was Fei Yi or Mou, according to their morals, it was natural for them to retrieve something that they had lost. However, the Wudong tree's heart had its own consciousness and turned into a spirit monster. It was an independent life with its own thoughts, so it could no longer be regarded as someone's possession. Of course, if it was someone else, they could disregard Lin Tong's wishes and directly force her, but that was clearly not what the Phoenix Association would do. Even if they really wanted to do it, Lin Feng was still standing there. If they had the guts to behave atrociously on Jade Capital Mountain, they would be annihilated at any moment. It's one thing for the little girl to go with you willingly, but it's another if she dared to snatch it from you. Fei Yi and Mou looked at little Lin Tong gloomily and were somewhat speechless. If Lin Tong was born naturally from the Wudong tree's heart, then the relationship between her and Lin Feng as master and disciple was at most the relationship they had during this period of time together. Children were ignorant. Although they were easily bewitched, they could still make a decision when faced with the natural bloodline relationship between the Wudong tree's clan and the Phoenix clan. Unfortunately, Lin Tong was not born naturally. Instead, she was nurtured and enlightened by Lin Feng and Xiao Yan respectively. Only then did she develop her consciousness and turn into a spirit monster. In her mind, Lin Feng and his disciple were the closest elders and blood relatives. They were the people closest to her psychologically, whereas the Phoenix and the Wudong tree were ranked second. Whether it was birth or nurturing, Lin Feng and his disciple had priority over the Wudong tree's clan and the Phoenix clan in Lin Tong's mind. This immediately made Fei Yi and Mou feel conflicted. They did not want to force Lin Tong, but the goal of this trip was to bring Lin Tong back to the Wudong tree forest in Infinite Mainland. However, no matter how hard they tried, they could not persuade Lin Tong to go back to Infinite Mainland with them. Let alone staying for a long time, the little girl was not willing to go even if it was just a short trip. She hugged Xiao Yan's neck tightly and looked at the two phoenixes with vigilance. She looked like she was looking at two human traffickers who were about to abduct a little girl. Fei Yi and Mou felt like crying when they saw Lin Tong's gaze. "Bring Tong over there to play first." Lin Feng opened his mouth and said to Xiao Yan at this time. Xiao Yan nodded his head, coaxing Lin Tong while walking away some distance. Lin Tong looked at Fei Yi and Mou warily before quickly burrowing back into Xiao Yan's arms. The two phoenixes did not know whether to laugh or cry when they saw that. Tong's meaning is very clear. This is her personal wish, and I will not interfere. Lin Feng said lightly, "The two of you can stay on the mountain for a day or two and try to persuade Tong. But if she doesn't change her mind, then forgive me for not keeping the two of you here." Fei Yi and Mou fell into silence at the same time. Slowly, Fei Yi said, "In that case, thank you for your magnanimity, Mystic Gate Master. I'm afraid we will have to trouble you for another day." In the following day, the two phoenixes tried their best to persuade Lin Tong to go back to Infinite Mainland with them. At this moment, they no longer hoped that Lin Tong could return to their clan and only hoped that she could go to the Wudong Tree Forest. However, no matter how much the two of them talked, the little girl just shook her head and refused to agree. It was Fei Yi and Mou's fault for not understanding the situation clearly and speaking too confidently, causing little Lin Tong to misunderstand that they were plotting to separate her from her grandfather and father. This made the little fellow completely put the names of the two phoenixes into the blacklist. Even if the two of them now put their conditions more broadly, and the promises they made were more superior, the little girl would only think that they were deceiving her with flowery words. Little Tong had now transformed into a revolutionary warrior with an incomparably strong will, tenacious style, and firm stand. No matter what Fei Yi and Mou said, she would not budge at all and would not budge an inch. Even Lin Feng and Xiao Yan felt distressed when they saw Fei Yi, a dignified great sage of the demon race, being overwrought with coaxing the child. "Master, why do they insist on taking Tong back?" Xiao Yan was a little puzzled. He now had some understanding of the Phoenix race's character and knew that this race despised deceit and hypocrisy. They were even more disdainful to do that. Since Fei Yi and Mou only promised to take Lin Tong to the Wudong Tree Forest and not to stay there for a long time, then they should be serious and not trying to deceive her with empty words. But why did they go through so much trouble to take Lin Tong back? Or perhaps he should ask, why did they want the Wudong Tree heart? Lin Feng pondered and said, "I don't know the specific reason, but I'm sure that what they want to do must be done through Tong's help. In this matter, Tong is irreplaceable. Tong is the wood heart born from a female divine Wudong tree. The Wudong tree is the combination of a Wudong tree and a Tong tree. The Wudong tree is a male tree and the Tong tree is a female tree. They grow and age together, and live and die together." He looked at little Lin Tong and said faintly, "Under what circumstances is Tong irreplaceable?" "There's only one possibility. Something happened to the male Wudong tree that she was born from back then, and they needed the Wudong tree to solve the problem." Xiao Yan came to a realization. Just like the soaring snow plume that little junior brother raised in the heaven-barren valley, they only have one partner in life and death. It's the same for the Wudong tree. Every Wudong tree will only have one Wudong tree as its partner in life and vice versa. Lin Feng nodded and did not say anything. He thought to himself, without the Wudong tree will wither. Since the Wudong tree has lost its wood heart, it will naturally wither and die. The Wudong tree might be able to survive with the existence of the wood heart. However, the Wudong tree heart has been lost in the Kuan Peng's mystic treasure for 10,000 years. How did the Wudong tree survive these 10,000 years? While Lin Feng and his disciple were gossiping, Fei Yi and Mou were on the verge of tears. They talked until their saliva was dry, but Lin Tong still refused to return to Infinite Mainland with them. Helpless, the two phoenixes could only return to look for Lin Feng. Master and disciple, please help to persuade her to return to Infinite Mainland with us, Fei Yi said helplessly. We'll escort her back after a period of time and won't disturb her for a long time after that, Fei Yi said helplessly. They initially thought that the two of them could bring Lin Tong away easily. Who would have thought that they would have to ask for Lin Feng's help in the end? To the phoenixes, asking for help this time was not a matter of course. Instead, they were asking for someone's help and owed them a favor. Fei Yi and Mo Yu were well aware of this point. However, they could not convince Lin Tong to return to the Wudong forest with them, so they could only look for Lin Feng for help. Lin Feng's expression was the same as usual and he was not arrogant at all. He merely asked indifferently, I need to know why you want to bring Tong back to Infinite Mainland. Don't worry, Master of the Mystic Sect. She won't be harmed at all, Fei Yi said after a moment of hesitation. It's the Wudong Tree's sovereign who urgently needs her help. Chapter 5:10. Hearing the name Wudong Emperor, Xiao Yan subconsciously looked at Lin Feng. After some intensive study, he now had a better understanding of the Phoenix race and the divine Wudong Tree. Of course, these two demon races had always been mysterious and had little interaction with the outside world, so there wasn't much valuable information. But even so, Xiao Yan has also heard of the great name of the Wudong Tree Emperor, because he is the current clan leader of the divine Wudong Tree demon race, a demon race expert who has long reached the realm of star-soul unity. As a plant demon, his lifespan is incomparably long. It is unknown how many years he has lived. Generally speaking, in Tianhuang continent, only the Saint Emperor of the demon race, who was acknowledged by all demons, would be called emperor. For example, the last Saint Emperor of the demon race in Tianhai Yuda was called Yu Huang. The Golden Rock Sage called himself Rock Emperor as an encouragement to himself, reflecting his ambition and confidence. Although his subordinates obeyed him, the other powerful demon races didn't acknowledge it. The Enchantress's junior brother, the Celestial Wolf Sage, had once mocked the Golden Rock Sage to his face. The situation of the Wudong Emperor was different from that of the Golden Rock Sage. This title was mainly an honorific and honorific used by the Wudong race and the Phoenix race. The divine Wudong Tree was even more reclusive than the Phoenix race, and the Wudong Emperor hadn't left the Wudong forest for tens of thousands of years. He was powerful and old enough, but he usually kept a low profile and didn't have the ambition or invasiveness to conquer the world of demons. Therefore, many demons tacitly agreed to this title and didn't take it too seriously. Some demons who were closer to the Wudong race and the Phoenix race would even call him that. Listening to Fei Yi and Mo Yu's simple introduction, Lin Feng and Xiao Yan found out that the Wudong Tree Emperor in the past naturally also had a companion Wudong Tree. But she met with a calamity 10,000 years ago and the Wudong Tree Emperor could only protect her heart. 10,000 years ago, the ancient great sage of Kunpeng, Ocean Kunpeng, borrowed the Wudong Tree Heart but unexpectedly died in the divine land together with it, so the Wudong Tree Heart had never returned to the Wudong Emperor. The Wudong Emperor had reached the third tier of the undying demon soul, the realm of astral soul as one, which was equivalent to the third tier of the human primordial spirit fusing with the path. It was almost a world of its own, and it had basically broken away from the nature of living and dying together with the Wudong Tree. Therefore, even without its companion, it had survived these 10,000 years alone. Lin Feng listened quietly, his eyes looking straight at Fei Yi. He did not speak, but it was equivalent to a silent question. Since the Wudong Emperor could survive without the Wudong Tree, Fei Yi didn't say anything. Fei Yi and Mo Yu looked at each other with hesitation on their faces. Mo Yu wanted to say something, but Fei Yi shook her head and said, "Forget it, I'll say it." He turned his head to look at Lin Feng and his disciple, as well as at Lin Tong. He said slowly, "This matter is a humiliation for the Phoenix clan and the Wudong clan. Very few people know about it, so your master and your disciple are not aware of it. His Majesty, the Wudong Tree Sovereign, once encountered a calamity thousands of years ago, causing his vitality to be greatly damaged. Although he did not die, his injuries have lingered to this day, and it is difficult to completely heal. To temporarily suppress his injuries, he needs the heart of the Wudong tree, which is of the same origin as him, to cast an ancient curse. Lin Feng pondered for a moment before asking, "What will happen to Tong, or after I cast the spell?" The two phoenixes' expressions became serious at the same time. Fei Yi replied solemnly, "They won't be harmed at all. Instead, they'll be enlightened by the Wudong tree's sovereign's power, causing their spirituality and arcane energy to rise to the next level." The phoenix race had always been true to their word. They never lied or lied. They were the most trustworthy and secure group in the heaven primal world. After listening, Lin Feng slightly nodded his head. Xiao Yan secretly transmitted his voice to him and asked, "Master, can Tong, be considered the reincarnation of that tongue tree? If that's the case, wouldn't she and that Wudong tree emperor be?" Xiao Yan swallowed the words "an old cow preying on young grass" when they reached the tip of his tongue. Tong, is a spirit monster. She can't be considered a reincarnation of a tree demon, and she can't even be considered a clone. However, she can't be considered a bloodline descendant either. If I really have to say it, she's more like a master and disciple who have inherited the principles. Lin Feng said plainly, what she inherited is the concept of the principles that the tongue tree's sovereign cultivated after it became a demon. With that as the foundation, you and I enlightened her spirituality. Then, she refined the original Wudong tree heart and turned it into a part of herself. She can be considered a member of the Wudong race. After Lin Feng finished speaking to Xiao Yan, he looked towards Fei Yi and Mou, opening his mouth and saying with a calm expression, "Even though I have never met the Wudong emperor, we can be considered to have been friends for a long time. He met with a calamity, because Tong, was lost in the belly of the sea sky Kuanpeng, that's why he suffered for thousands of years. Now that Tong has seen the light of day again, it means that it's time for the Wudong tree emperor's calamity to turn for the better." Hearing Lin Feng's words, joy appeared in Fei Yi and Mou's eyes. Fei Yi cupped his hands at Lin Feng. "My race and the Wudong race can't thank the master of Mystic Gate for your righteousness." Lin Feng waved his hand. "But I'll say this first. You must ensure Tong's safety. After resolving the Wudong tree emperor's calamity, I want her to return to the mountain safe and sound." Although Lin Feng's expression was calm, Fei Yi and Mou's hearts trembled. Slowly, the two phoenixes nodded together. "That's how it should be. Master of Mystic Gate, don't worry." At this time, Xiao Yan started conversing with little Lin Tong. At first, the little guy blinked his big eyes, and there was even a layer of mist covering his eyes. He asked pitifully, "Grandpa and Daddy don't want Tong anymore?" "Silly girl." Xiao Yan rubbed her little head. "How could Godfather not want you? This time, you're going to the Wudong forest to save someone. Once it's over, you can naturally return to the mountain to reunite with Godfather and Grandpa." The little girl sucked on her finger and asked in a childish voice, "Save someone?" After thinking about it carefully, she made a request, "Then can Grandpa and Daddy go with me?" Fei Yi and Mou looked at each other. Mou looked troubled. The Wudong forest had been sealed off for many years. No outsiders could step into it. "Sure." Fei Yi pondered for a moment and said resolutely, "The master of Mystic Gate is righteous. You extended a helping hand to our two races and helped His Majesty the Wudong Tree Emperor to heal. You're a friend of the Phoenix race and the Wudong race. Your presence brings light to our humble Wudong forest. We should welcome you with open arms." Although Fei Yi had attained the indestructible demon soul realm, his position in the Phoenix race was not enough for him to make such an important decision. However, with the habits of the Phoenix race and the Wudong race, this was a decision that would not cause much controversy among the clansmen. Repaying favors was also one of the Phoenix race's main characters. Lin Feng said indifferently, "I also yearn to go to the Wudong forest. However, I've been busy with mundane matters recently and have no time to spare." He sent a voice transmission to Xiao Yan. "Xiao Yan, put aside whatever you're doing for now. You don't need me to teach you what to do when you head to the Wudong forest in the infinite mainland, right?" Xiao Yan pondered for a moment and a clear understanding flashed through his eyes. Although he did not show it on the surface, he secretly smiled at Lin Feng. Don't worry, master. I know what to do. I guarantee that I'll complete the mission. Lin Feng smiled and said, my eldest disciple, Xiao Yan, will represent me on this trip. Xiao Yan nodded and cupped his fists at Fei Yi and Mou. Thank you for your hospitality. Fei Yi and Mou returned the greeting solemnly. You're too polite. We should be the ones thanking you. Little Lin Tong had no objections after confirming that Xiao Yan would be going with them. Although he still subconsciously hid behind Xiao Yan when he saw Fei Yi and Mou approaching, he did not look at them as warily as when he looked at human traffickers. The two phoenixes did not know whether to laugh or cry. Be it Fei Yi or Mou, they were burning with anxiety and could not wait to bring Lin Tong back to the infinite mainland. Since they had decided to help, Lin Feng and his disciple would not make things difficult for them. After settling his matters as soon as possible, Xiao Yan immediately set off with little Lin Tong, Fei Yi, and Mou. After watching Xiao Yan and the others leave, Lin Feng silently stood on the branch of the profound sky treasure tree and pondered. A moment later, he asked, Nanhua, what's the matter? A white-clothed youth broke through the void and arrived behind Lin Feng. It was the sect's protector, Kong Nanhua. He replied with a calm expression, Sect Master, I've received news that the Shi and Yu clans of the Great Qin dynasty have been very restless recently. Both parties have suddenly become close. Shi and Yu clans. Lin Feng pondered in his heart after listening to Kong Nanhua's words. The Great Qin dynasty's aristocratic families are led by the four great clans. However, the Hua clan is very unsociable among them. The other three clans are of the same breadth and branch, and have even become in-laws. In particular, the Shi and Yu clans had the closest relationship. After that dual-pupiled individual, Shi Tianyi, had revealed his outstanding talent, the two clans had become even closer. This was something that practically the entire world knew of, and Kong Nanhua naturally knew of it as well. However, he had solemnly reported this matter to Lin Feng. Obviously, the relationship between the two great clans was extremely close recently, and had already reached an abnormal state. Since the day that Lin Feng took the little guy, Shi Tianhao, as his disciple, he knew that there would be a day where he would encounter the Shi and Yu clans sooner or later. This was because the conflict between Shi Tianhao and Big Stone, Shi Tianyi, was completely irreconcilable. Unless the Shi clan changed their ways and gave up on Big Stone, they were bound to become the background of Little Stone's path of destiny. If it was only Shi Tianhao alone, it would still be fine. However, Xianmen Tianzong had already become a colossus that the Shi clan was completely unable to face alone. If they could change direction now, the Shi clan would definitely change direction without the slightest hesitation. But unfortunately, they owed Shi Tianhao too much in the past, so much that they could only repay it by selling their entire clan's fortune. The results were the same no matter what. The Shi clan could only walk down this path to the end, and there was no need to even mention the Yu clan. Not mentioning the issue between Big Stone and Little Stone, many of the Yu clan's Yuanying ancestors had successively died at the hands of Xianmen Tianzong. About half of the clan's forces had fallen in the process of colliding with Xianmen Tianzong. Such hatred could be said to be absolutely irreconcilable. Is it the pressure from the Qin dynasty's purging of the aristocratic families that forced them to become even closer, or is it because of me? Lin Feng pondered inwardly, if it's because of me, where does their confidence come from? Chapter 5:11. Today, the Yu clan or the Shi clan were no longer a match for Lin Feng. To put it bluntly, the two clans combined would not be able to defeat Lin Feng with one hand. The reason why he kept them alive was that Lin Feng did not want to be a tool for the Great Qin dynasty, and also because of the Taishu temple. Of course, the most important reason was that even if Lin Feng did not care about them, Shi Tianhao would naturally meet them in the future. Therefore, the unusual movements of the Shi clan and the Yu clan made Lin Feng feel a little interested. What do these two clans want to do? While he was still thinking, Lin Feng suddenly had a thought. Through the dermic power and divine sense that he left on Xiao Yan, he found that Xiao Yan and his party had been intercepted by others. The infinite wasteland land and the divine land were the two poles of the vast thousand world. The boundary power was so strong that even Essence Soul experts could not directly break through the void. For example, the Golden Crow Great Sage's guidance method and the Kuan Peng Great Sage's blood sacrifice method could directly travel between the two worlds, but they had to pay an extremely huge price. They would only use it once as a last resort. Therefore, after Xiao Yan and the others left Yujing Mountain, they went all the way south. Under Fei Ye's lead, they quickly moved through the void and went to the south of the Divine Land, which was connected to the Infinite Wasteland Land. This was the fixed passage between the two worlds of the human race and the demon race. At the same time, it was also the front line where the two races usually fought. Although there was no large-scale war at the moment, there were continuous small and medium-sized conflicts. Human race cultivators often broke into the Infinite Wasteland Land to kill the demon race, and there were also tyrannical demon race who rushed into the Divine Land to cause trouble in the human world. Previously, when Fei Yi and Mou came to the Divine Land, they also passed through this place. The group was rushing toward the boundary between the two worlds. Just as they left the Kunlun mountain range, there was suddenly a violent dermic power fluctuation in the space. Fei Yi, Xiao Yan, and Mou frowned slightly. Black light flashed in front of them, blotting out the sky and covering the earth as it swept towards them. Within the black light, there were faint cries of battle that shook the soul. It was as if thousands of soldiers and horses were roaring within it, and the sounds of battle shook the heavens. Above the thick smell of blood that was like a battle formation, there was also a grand will that suppressed everything. It was indescribably noble, as if it was the will of the heavens that ruled over the four seas. When the two were combined, he was like an invincible emperor who conquered the world, commanding his loyal, brave, and skillful troops to appear before Xiao Yan and the others like a torrent of steel. This black light instantly blotted out the sky, wanting to engulf Xiao Yan and the others. Fei Ye's expression was calm as he circulated his demonic energy, bringing Xiao Yan, Mou, and Lin Tong with him to retreat, wanting to evade the black light. Unexpectedly, a pale golden figure suddenly appeared within the black light. It was completely formed by light and shadow magic energy, wearing a golden coiled dragon armor and a golden helmet. His face was full of the majesty of an emperor, as if he was personally leading the troops into battle. As soon as this pale golden figure appeared, the black light soared, still encircling Fei Yi, Xiao Yan, and the others. A transformation-grade magic treasure. Fei Yi slightly raised his eyebrows, staring at the magic treasure's original spirit that had already condensed its body, which was the appearance of a golden emperor. Unfortunately, your owner has not reached the primordial spirit realm. I really don't understand why you are willing to be refined by him. The pale golden figure opened his mouth to speak, and his voice spread out like rolling thunder, with quite a domineering momentum. You don't need to know this, Phoenix. Fei Ye's expression still looked very indifferent. Hearing this, he nodded. Indeed, I don't need to know, it's just a waste of time. As he spoke, the demonic energy in his body surged, and with a flap of his wings, he set off a hurricane that was like a sharp blade that could split the sky, sweeping across the black light. The magic treasure's original spirit that looked like an emperor was not in a hurry. Riding on the black light, it kept turning, as if a battle formation was changing. The battle cries of thousands of soldiers and horses shook the sky, dispersing Fei Ye's attack. The shocking murderous aura and battle intent made the calm Phoenix frown. It was as if thousands of vigorous martial artists had gathered their blood, chi, and will together, condensing into a powerful will that could shock even gods and ghosts. It was incomparably brave, but at the same time, it was also incomparably fanatical. Thousands of soldiers were only loyal to their emperor. Wherever the emperor pointed his sword, even if it was a mountain of knives, a sea of fire, or a sky full of gods and Buddhas, he would not hesitate to attack until death. Interesting. Lin Feng, who had witnessed everything through Xiao Yan's divine consciousness, became interested. Putting aside the cultivation of Xiao Yan and Mou, Fei Yi was the scarlet phoenix that had cultivated the immortal demon's soul. Although he was not aggressive by nature, his demonic energy and supernatural powers were outstanding among the great sages of the same level. Moreover, he possessed the pure yang true fire that was unique to the Phoenix clan, making his combat strength extraordinary. More importantly, in addition to their own strength, Fei Yi and Mou had the backing of the Phoenix clan. Knowing the identity of Fei Yi and Mou, the other party still dared to block their way. This confidence, or perhaps madness, was worthy of praise. However, this person's cultivation was somewhat unexpected. Just like Fei Yi, Lin Feng could see that the owner of this magic treasure had not achieved the primordial soul realm. It was rare to see someone who had not achieved the primordial soul realm but could already possess a transformation-grade magic treasure. Back then, the Empyrean Walker of the Taishu Temple, Pang Jia, had the strength of the late Yuanying realm. His status was high enough and his background was deep enough. However, the magic treasure that he carried with him, the hexagonal sword, was only a spirit conception-grade magic treasure. Although the hexagonal sword had reached the peak of the spirit conception realm and its strength was quite extraordinary, the magic treasure's primordial soul had not been able to condense its own form. At this moment, the person who was blocking Fei Yi and Xiao Yan's way had a transformation-grade magic treasure even though he had not achieved the primordial soul realm. It was impossible for him to refine it himself, so it was either given to him by someone or he had a heaven-defying opportunity to obtain a treasure left behind by a predecessor. Fei Yi's demonic energy surged and his attack became more powerful. Although his opponent had a transformation-grade magic treasure, the user could not effectively exert its power before his primordial soul second level returned to emptiness realm. As a result, he gradually fell into a disadvantageous position against Fei Yi, who was at the first level of the immortal demon soul realm. However, this magic treasure was extraordinary after all. It could fight with Fei Yi of the Phoenix clan with just its magic power and divine ability. In the black light, the true appearance of the magic treasure was gradually revealed. It was a large black flag with a huge emperor character embroidered on it. It fluttered in the wind with an astonishing aura. Fei Yi and Mou usually did not leave the parasol tree forest, so their understanding of the outside world was relatively limited. They were rather well informed about the news in Infinite Wilderness, but they were relatively uninformed about the news in the Divine Land. On the contrary, after accepting Xianmen Tianzong's job as external liaison, Xiao Yan had put in a lot of effort to understand the various forces in the human cultivation world in the Divine Land. After getting a clear look at the large flag, Xiao Yan raised his eyebrows. Indestructible Imperial Flag? Xiao Yan already knew the identity of the person who possessed the indestructible Imperial Flag, a transformation-grade magic treasure even though he had not achieved the primordial soul realm. The number one expert of the great Zhou dynasty's younger generation, Marquis Jing Huan. He was the great Zhou dynasty's rising star. He had risen from a young age and made great contributions to the expansion of the great Zhou dynasty's territory. Therefore, he had been conferred the title of Marquis at a young age and attracted the attention of the world. He had reached the late-stage Yuanying realm at a young age and was only a step away from the primordial soul realm. His talent was famous in the entire Great Heaven primordial world. In terms of cultivation, even the great Zhou dynasty's crown prince, Liang Yuan, had to bow down to him. It was publicly acknowledged that geniuses of the same generation were just mediocre in front of Marquis Jing Huan. After his rise, between the Great Zhou and the Great Qin was suppressed by the Great Zhou to the point where they couldn't even raise their heads. It wasn't until the dual-pupiled Shi Tianyi became famous that there was someone who could stand up to the Great Zhou's Jinghuan Marquis. The thing that made Marquis Jinghuan despair the most was that apart from his shocking talent, he also had great luck, great fortune, and great opportunities. Before he reached the primordial soul realm, he had the eternal imperial flag, a life transformation dharma treasure. Apart from that, he had endless treasures and many experts following him. It wasn't that he had never suffered setbacks, but after every setback, he would rise again rapidly and become even stronger. Not only did his cultivation increase, he could also obtain better treasures. However, apart from his cultivation talent, there was something else that was widely known. He liked to collect all sorts of beauties in the world. Not just humans, but even demon beauties were not spared. If one wanted to find a place with the most beauties in the world, it would not be Emperor Liang Pan's palace or Emperor Qin Shi Yu's palace, but Marquis Jing Huan's private residence. Xiao Yan's mind raced and he told Fei Yi and Mou everything he knew about Marquis Jing Huan. The two phoenixes' faces immediately filled with anger. As expected, the Eternal Imperial Flag's artifact spirit said, Marquis Jing Huan has always said that the women from the phoenix race of the Infinite Wilderness continent are outstanding. He has long wanted to marry a phoenix, but he never had the time to go to Infinite Wilderness continent's Parasol Tree Forest. He heard that a noble lady from the phoenix race has come to the Divine Land, so he specially came to ask for her hand in marriage. Whether it was Lin Feng, who was still on Jade Capital Mountain, or Xiao Yan, who was present at the scene, they all curled their lips when they heard this. This fellow made it sound nice, but how was this a marriage proposal? This was practically a marriage kidnapping. Lin Feng found it rather funny. Young man, you've got some ideas. I think highly of you. Blocking the road and forcefully snatching a woman from the phoenix race, I really don't know if you're extremely bold or absolutely confident. The strength of the phoenix race was well known, but Marquis Jing Huan had dared to forcefully block the road and take Mou into his room. Such behavior was truly condescending and completely disregarding the consequences. It could be said to be extremely arrogant and bordering on madness. He seemed to completely disregard the fact that there were countless experts in the phoenix race. It was rumored that there was more than one great demon at the third level of the indestructible demon soul realm, and they also had close allies like the divine Parasol Tree race. Even the entire Great Zhou dynasty would have to consider the consequences of angering the phoenix race and the Parasol race. If the two sides were to start a full-scale war, it was even possible that it would trigger a new war between the two worlds. But this Marquis Jing Huan was doing it now, and he was doing it openly and without the slightest scruple. Even with Fei Yi and Mou's self-restraint, anger appeared on their faces. Fei Yi said coldly, "Ignorant madman, madness will be your doom." I don't think so. Everything in the world belongs to those who are capable, and the same goes for alluring beauties. At this moment, a young man suddenly appeared below the Eternal Imperial Flag. He was dressed in luxurious purple and gold robes, with a golden crown on his head and a bright yellow belt around his waist. This was an item of the imperial family and was clearly bestowed by the emperor. Otherwise, even if it was worn by a duke or marquis, it would be against the rules and would be impeached. This was a crime of great disrespect. His figure was incomparably well proportioned, and he had short hair. His face was handsome, and his forehead was full. His temples were surrounded by a faint golden blood color, as if they were two real suns. Chapter 5:12. The temples on both sides of Marquis Jing Huan's forehead were like two real suns, and his qi and blood were as vigorous as the sun. Lin Feng was certain that this person's martial cultivation had already reached the peak of his current realm. Just like before Lin Feng had reached the primordial soul stage, his god of war clone had reached the limit of the qi and blood of a Yuanying stage cultivator. This kind of physical state was extremely lethal, and this person's will was firm and his body was overflowing with killing intent. He was clearly someone who had experienced hundreds of battles, and his combat ability was even more astonishing. There were few people in the Yuanying stage who were his match. Of the martial cultivators that Lin Feng had seen before, although he did not know what the Marquis of Xuanji, Zhu Honggu, looked like in the Yuanying stage, he believed that apart from Zhu Honggu, no one in the Yuanying stage could compete with this Marquis Jing Huanhu in terms of physical strength. Perhaps the Northern Militant Court's great Chanyu could, but he was not completely confident. Lin Feng could basically conclude that if this person cultivated a primordial soul and fused his primordial soul with his physical body, he would be another Zhu Honggu. A first-tier primordial soul cultivator could challenge a second-tier primordial soul cultivator. Even now, with his late Yuanying stage cultivation, Marquis Jinghuan appeared extremely relaxed when facing Crimson Phoenix Fae, who had already reached the Undying Demon Soul stage. This kind of relaxation was an external manifestation of complete confidence in one's strength. His spirit, qi, and spirit were incomparably exuberant. He had the appearance of a young man, and he looked a little younger than Xiao Yan. He was about the same age as Mou in human form. He was very handsome, and his eyes exuded a domineering temperament. He looked like a hawk and looked like a wolf, full of aggression and predation. Domineering, greedy, arrogant, confident. His temperament was somewhat similar to that of the Qin dynasty's crown prince, Shi Chongyun. He was less sinister than Shi Chongyun, but more murderous. This murderous aura was not sinister and ruthless, but dignified and aboveboard. It originated from Marquis Jinghuan's many years of killing. Everything in the world belongs to those who are capable. Marquis Jinghuan first glanced at Crimson Phoenix Fae before turning his gaze to Black Phoenix Mou. He nodded and said, "Not bad, very good. Come with me." His voice did not contain the slightest murderous intent. Instead, it was somewhat refreshing and pleasing to the ear. However, the tone of his voice was like an irresistible command. It was as if his words were an order, a military order. Anyone who heard his words had to obey. Subconsciously, the first reaction was to obey his words. Lin Feng, who was on Mount Yujing, and Xiao Yan, who was at the scene, laughed silently in their hearts when they heard what he said. This guy is really crazy. Fei Yi and Mou couldn't laugh. The two of them calmly looked at Marquis Jinghuan. Mou coldly said, "If the heavens want one to die, they will first make one mad." Marquis Jinghuan, you are not far from death. Marquis Jinghuan replied carelessly, "They died only because they weren't strong enough." Fei Yi indifferently looked at him. "Do you think you are strong enough for you to do such an absurd and arrogant thing?" Marquis Jinghuan smiled and calmly said, "The Fey Scarlet Phoenix is a member of the Scarlet Phoenix clan of the Phoenix clan. He is more than 5,000 years old and has reached the first layer of the Undying Demon Soul. He possesses the pure young true fire unique to the Phoenix clan. He is usually in charge of the Phoenix clan's external communications. Among the great saints of the Phoenix clan, he appears the most. In terms of actual combat experience, he should be the most abundant among his peers. However, the last time he fought was more than 800 years ago. He enunciated his words clearly and his voice was loud. He spoke at a steady pace and in a clear and organized manner. This marquis has led troops for many years and knows the importance of military intelligence. Although the Phoenix clan lives in seclusion and it is difficult to gather intelligence, you happen to be the great saint of the Phoenix clan who goes out the most, so you have the most intelligence." Marquis Jinghuan stood silently under the immortal imperial flag, his expression relaxed as if he was chatting with Fei Yi. He raised his hand and gently stroked the pole of the immortal imperial flag. This artifact of mine is called the immortal imperial flag. There are two main points. The first is Emperor, and the second is Undying. Although the immortal imperial flag is also extremely lethal, that is not its strongest point. Following Marquis Jinghuan's words, the immortal imperial flag suddenly changed. The flag fluttered in the wind and turned into a black light that instantly engulfed Fei Yi, Xiao Yan, and Mou. The black light turned into an independent space that cut off Xiao Yan and the other's connection to the outside world, creating its own world. Xiao Yan's expression did not change as he carefully sensed the intent realm within the black light. He discovered that there was an aura of a magnificent army protecting an emperor. No matter how powerful the enemy was, no matter how the heavens fell and the earth split, they would still protect their emperor. And the emperor that was being protected did not diminish in the slightest. This was the unshakable majesty of an emperor, eternal and inextinguishable, the authoritative will of an eternal emperor. The immortal imperial flag was like the great Qin's king of tranquility, Shi Zhongyue's dragon concealment pot. It was also an artifact that could open up a small space within. Moreover, This small space was much more stable and powerful than the dragon concealment pot, making it difficult to break through. Just as Marquis Jing Huan had said, although this artifact was lethal, its strongest point was its inner space. By placing the artifact's owner within this space, it could ensure their safety. If an enemy was swept up, it would be the best way to trap them, making it impossible for them to escape. Fei Yi did not even bat an eyelid as he calmly nodded. It is indeed extraordinary, but unfortunately, your cultivation is too low and you are unable to display its true power. You are just wasting a heavenly treasure. It cannot trap me. If this is what you are relying on, then I can only think that you have gone mad, Marquis Jing Huan calmly said. Marquis Jing Huan said unhurriedly, this isn't to trap you. It's to prevent my little beauty from escaping when I fight you. Seeing his frivolous words, Mou's expression became colder and colder. Seeing this, Marquis Jing Huan smiled slightly. There is no need to be angry. In the future, you will understand that an outstanding woman like you should only be matched with an even more outstanding man like me. Only then will you not cast pearls before swine. He turned to look at Fei Yi. As for you, I have something else to greet you with. With a flip of his palm, a dark light flashed and landed in front of him, transforming into a tall giant. Its bones were thick and gave off a metallic feel. The giant was expressionless and looked like a walking corpse. Its skin was iron black, and the muscles beneath it bulged. Just by looking at it, one could feel the terrifying explosive power within. Its entire body flashed with a dazzling red light, and a strong fiery yang aura surged. Its blood was so strong that it was not inferior to that of a first-tier primordial soul adept. Fei Yi had a look of surprise on his face. This is the ultimate masterpiece of the ancient human cultivation sect, the god-slaying puppet. The phoenixes were not very well informed about recent events, but they knew many ancient secrets in great detail. Fei Yi immediately recognized that the giant before him was a flesh puppet refined from the power of a human cultivator. Moreover, it was a puppet with the power of the primordial soul stage. It originated from the ancient human cultivation sect, the puppetry Tao. The puppetry Tao was a demonic sect that had once dominated the world for a period of time. It was arrogant and vicious. The cultivators in the sect were not very strong, but they all refined powerful puppets as weapons in battle. The puppetry Tao not only had puppets with the power of the Yuanying and Golden Elixir periods, but they also had puppets with the power of the primordial soul stage. This sect had a terrible reputation in the ancient times because they used secret techniques to refine puppets using the bodies of other cultivators. The god-slaying puppet that Marquis Jing Huan took out now was refined into a puppet by a puppetry Tao mighty figure in the past who had refined another primordial soul stage martial expert. Such an act that incurred the wrath of the masses was naturally condemned by the masses. Thus, the puppetry Tao was quickly annihilated in the long river of history. However, it also left a strong mark in the history of the human cultivation world. Even the demon race in Tianhuang mainland had heard of it. Marquis Jing Huan nodded. This is something I found by accident when I was exploring a ruin. It's quite useful and can be used to greet you. Before he finished speaking, the god-slaying puppet had already charged toward Fei Yi with a raging aura. This puppet was called the god-slaying puppet, which meant that it could slay primordial souls. Its name was extremely arrogant, but it was indeed very powerful. Not only did it retain the cultivation of the primordial soul stage expert, it also became fearless of death and injury. Roar! The god-slaying puppet let out a wild roar, and the explosive sound wave almost tore apart Fei Ye's protective demonic energy barrier. Fei Ye's expression was calm. He raised his head and let out a crisp phoenix cry. Boundless demonic energy spread out, turning into a boundless hurricane that collided with the god-slaying puppet. The world of black light instantly turned into a storm. The god-slaying puppet was indeed very powerful. It was completely unscathed even though it was surrounded by astral winds. It even used its own strength to tear apart the astral winds and approach Fei Yi. However, as a member of the Phoenix race, Fei Yi was extremely talented and powerful. He was extremely outstanding among demons of the same level. The hurricane formed by his demonic energy also caused the god-slaying puppet to feel as if it had fallen into a quagmire. Marquis Jinghuan's expression did not change. A burly man clad in armor stepped out from the void behind him. It was a late-stage yuanying expert. However, this burly man was not trying to pincer Fei Yi. Instead, he raised a sheathed saber with both hands and brought it to Marquis Jinghuan's side. A late-stage yuanying expert was only fit to carry a saber. Marquis Jinghuan unsheathed the saber, and a golden light flashed across the jet-black blade. It exuded an ancient and primordial sovereign aura. The immense power made Xiao Yan's eyelids twitch. Are you kidding me? It's another Dharma treasure. This saber was also a Dharma treasure. Although it was not as good as the immortal imperial flag and was only a spirit-nurturing grade Dharma treasure, it was still a genuine Dharma treasure. It nurtured a primordial spirit and possessed astonishing power. A late-stage yuanying cultivator who had yet to form a nascent soul possessed two Dharma treasures. Even Mou of the Phoenix race felt that his self-restraint was lacking. Is there something wrong with the primordial spirits of these two Dharma treasures? What are they thinking? Why would they submit to a late-stage yuanying cultivator? Lin Feng, who was on Jade Capital Mountain, also found it interesting. Two Dharma treasures, one at the incarnation grade and the other at the spirit-nurturing grade, were nothing to him. However, for them to appear in the hands of a late-stage yuanying cultivator at the same time was rather eye-catching. Many nascent soul cultivators only had one Dharma treasure on them, and some didn't even have one. Marquis Jinghuan, a late-stage yuanying cultivator, possessed two Dharma treasures. Moreover, after careful observation, Lin Feng discovered that these two Dharma treasures actually belonged to him. Although he hadn't formed a blood bond with them, he had already completely refined them. They weren't temporarily lent to him by someone else. Tisk, he's quite impressive. Lin Feng laughed. Does this count as a major Prince Scarlet Leaf? No, he's different from Prince Scarlet Leaf. Chapter 5:13. Through the magic power and divine sense he had left on Xiao Yan, Lin Feng carefully observed. He discovered that Marquis Jinghuan was looking at Black Phoenix Mou as if he was looking at an object, a beloved plaything. If it was the Scarlet Leaf Prince, Yi Piaoxue, his gaze would most likely be as deep as it could be. At the same time, he would feel good about himself and feel that Mou was looking at him the same way. Even if it wasn't for now, in the future, Mou would prostrate before his golden spear and live peacefully with his other women. Marquis Jinghuan's interest in collecting beauties was much stronger than Yi Piaoxue's, but it was a manifestation of his possessiveness. All the beauties in the world were like collectibles in his eyes. He wasn't like Yi Piaoxue, who mindlessly had a harem. He was purely greedy and possessive. He wanted all the good things in the world. Lin Feng shook his head. Friend, this isn't appropriate. Your face is like a villain who attracts hatred. You're just like Shirtiani. He's like an old enemy specially prepared for the destined one. He's like an unkillable cockroach. He doesn't die every time, and the next time he jumps out, he'll be even stronger. In reality, he's just a recyclable tool for others to farm for experience and equipment. Lin Feng couldn't help but find it funny. Could this be the legendary transport captain? Tsk, I wonder who he's prepared this for. At this moment, Lin Feng looked at Marquis Jinghuan and felt a slight regret that he hadn't met him earlier. At his current level, Marquis Jinghuan's items didn't really matter to him. Instead, his disciples were more suitable. Lin Feng smiled slightly. Silly brats, let's see which of you is lucky enough to get this. This is a huge gold mine. It's a renewable resource that can be recycled and mined for a long time. A so-called old enemy was basically a kind-hearted person who specialized in sending warmth to the destined one. If you needed treasures or divine artifacts, you could find an old enemy. If you needed cultivation techniques or divine abilities, you could find an old enemy. If you needed to raise your reputation, you could find an old enemy. if you needed girls, you could find an old enemy. Poor chosen ones, your enemy may make you suffer a little humiliation for a while, but he will definitely compensate you 1,000 times in the future. You can obtain all the resources you need from your enemy. It was definitely much easier to advance by stepping on an old enemy than to work hard on his own. Therefore, you must cherish and love your hard-won enemies. They can save you many years of struggle. Marquis Jing Huan naturally didn't know that in Lin Feng's eyes, he had already become an ATM for his disciples. With the saber in hand, Marquis Jing Huan's aura was even more different. Although he had yet to form an essence soul and the ancient emperor's saber in his hand was like the indestructible imperial flag, unable to unleash its full power, its might was still astonishing. Wherever the edge of the blade pointed, enemies would retreat. The majesty of a monarch was fully displayed, as if it had the aura of ruling over the world. All enemies could only obediently submit and await death. A clear light surged above Marquis Jinghuan's head, and a majestic pillar of qi shot up into the sky. It was like a beacon of smoke, filled with the blood and will of a martial expert. Vaguely, there were sounds of killing in the smoke. Countless armors appeared in the smoke, as if the spirit and will of thousands of warriors had been added to the smoke at the same time. It was as if the spirit and will of thousands of warriors had been added to the smoke. The next moment, the essence qi beacon was completely retracted into Marquis Jinghuan's body. His eyes flashed with golden and bloody light. He slashed out with the ancient emperor's saber in his hand, shattering the void and sending a golden beam of light towards Fei Yi. Fei Yi wouldn't have cared if it was a 10,000-foot wave of light, but this thin beam of light made him frown slightly. He didn't dare to let it touch him. Marquis Jinghuan pushed his martial path mystique to the extreme, activating the ancient emperor's saber. Although he couldn't unleash the full power of the Dharma treasure, it already had the power to injure essence soul experts. Instantly, Marquis Jinghuan and the god-slaying puppet joined forces to attack Scarlet Phoenix Fei Yi. Both sides were evenly matched. Strictly speaking, besides the immortal imperial flag and the ancient emperor's saber, the god-slaying puppet was also a powerful weapon that wasn't inferior to a Dharma treasure. Marquis Jinghuan was a Yuaniying cultivator, but he had such a rich background. Even many essence soul experts didn't have it. At the same time, these treasures made him one of the few late-stage Yuaniying cultivators who could challenge essence soul experts. Lin Feng watched the battle between Marquis Jinghuan and Fei Yi. Slowly, he nodded. That essence qi beacon was his heaven and earth dharma idol. However, a martial cultivator's heaven and earth dharma idol isn't used to attack enemies directly. Instead, it fuses the heaven and earth dharma idol with one's physical body to further strengthen one's physical body. Fei Yi was surrounded by Marquis Jinghuan and the god-slaying puppet, but his expression was calm. I'm not the only one in the Phoenix race. Furthermore, even if I'm the only one, I won't allow you to be so arrogant. He raised his head and let out a clear cry. His body gradually turned into a ball of golden light, and a divine bird appeared in the golden light. It had the head of a chicken, the beak of a swallow, the neck of a snake, the back of a turtle, and the tail of a fish. Milky white flames flickered faintly in its eyes. Fei Yi had revealed his true form. He had transformed into a scarlet phoenix. He wasn't very big, and he was only about 6 feet tall. However, a powerful demonic aura radiated from him, forcing Jinghuan Marquis and the god-slaying puppet to retreat. Milky white pure yang flames gushed out, burning through even space. The immortal imperial flag's grotto heaven instantly became unstable. Marquis Jinghuan smiled. Everyone knows that phoenixes possess pure yang flames. How could I not make preparations? 6 dark green flames suddenly lit up in the immortal imperial flag's dark void. The green flames burned in the air, but one couldn't feel any heat. Instead, it was bone-chilling cold. Xiao Yan was slightly taken aback, carefully observing for a while. He understood, it's not a real flame but formed from pure and extremely condensed yin energy. The 6 dark green flames lit up and instantly turned into a green sea of fire, covering the immortal imperial flag's grotto heaven. Both Fei Yi and Mo Yu had obvious looks of disgust on their faces. Marquis Jinghuan looked at Fei Yi and smiled. This 6-unity in absolute formation can produce pure yin qi. Although it can't restrain pure yang flames, it can weaken them to a certain extent. It's not only useful for you, but it's also useful for my little beauty. He ordered, I'll deal with this great sage-level phoenix myself. You guys capture that black phoenix. Aside from the strong man carrying the saber behind him, a white-robed middle-aged man walked out of the void. He had a majestic aura, and his magic power shook the void. He was also a late Yuanying cultivator. Beside the white-robed man was a group of elite martial artists in armor. They were also Yuanying cultivators. Their blood energy was vigorous, their willpower was strong, and their bodies brimmed with killing intent. They were all battle-hardened people. Marquis Jinghuan's plan was to fight Fei Yi himself. Then, 2 late-stage Yuanying patriarchs would lead a group of subordinates to capture Mo Yu. Mo Yu was a late-stage demon king. As a phoenix, his strength was outstanding and he had pure yang flames. Ordinary late-stage Yuanying cultivators were no match for him. However, Marquis Jinghuan had used the immortal imperial flag to trap him and then used the 6-unity in absolute formation to restrict the power of pure yang flames. Then, he had 2 late-stage Yuanying cultivators lead a group of Yuanying cultivators. Such a lineup was enough to pose a threat to Mo Yu. In particular, the Yuanying cultivators under him were all extraordinary. They had powerful combat strength and were the cream of the crop among their peers. Silently, Fei Yi stared at Marquis Jinghuan in his phoenix form. Suddenly, he let out a long cry. As he cried out, blood gradually seeped out of his eyes. Phoenix weeps blood. Fei Yi's phoenix cry had penetrated the immortal imperial flag's spatial seal. His spiritual will had been transmitted all the way through the endless void and reached the parasol tree forest of infinite mainland. Seeing this, Marquis Jinghuan nodded. This is Phoenix Weeps Blood, right? It is indeed extraordinary. It can even pass through the immortal imperial flag's grotto heaven. He did not panic and said indifferently, your clansmen from the Wudong forest should have already received your message and are rushing over here. However, this is also within my expectations. Your clansmen need time to get here, and before that, I've already left with the beauty. Your efforts are meaningless. Fei Yi said, do you think you can escape? Marquis Jinghuan smiled nonchalantly. Your Phoenix clan has gone all out. I am indeed powerless to resist now. However, there are naturally people who can do it. Once I attain the Essence Soul Realm, there will be a day when I can trample the Parasol Tree Forest. Just like now. I have never thought of killing you today. All I need to do is delay you. My subordinates will naturally capture the beauty. Once I attain the Essence Soul Realm, killing you will be as easy as killing a chicken. These extremely arrogant words came out of his mouth, but they seemed extremely normal, as if it was only natural. Xiao Yan, who had been standing silently to the side, suddenly burst into laughter. You make it sound so easy. It's as if the great Zhou Empire will definitely take the blame for you. The disaster you've caused this time can be said to be heaven-shaking. Once Emperor Liang Pan of Zhou finds out, he will most likely throw you out for the Phoenix clan to deal with, right? Marquis Jinghuan looked at Xiao Yan and said indifferently, I've already seen you. You're Xianmen Tianzong's disciple, right? From your appearance and clothes, you should be Xiao Yan. Xiao Yan chuckled. Your eyes are quite sharp. Marquis Jinghuan said, I learned that a phoenix entered the divine land and sought an audience with the master of the mystic gate. Furthermore, it successfully ascended Yujing Mountain. It will descend the mountain in a day and set off for Tianhuang mainland. I didn't know you were accompanying it. I don't know why you traveled with the phoenix, but as long as you don't interfere with my matters and give the master of the mystic gate some face, I won't make things difficult for you. Once this matter is over, I will naturally release you from the indestructible imperial flag's grotto heaven. Xiao Yan smiled coldly. In that case, I should be thanking you. Could it be that you want to help the phoenix? Marquis Jinghuan's tone was still calm as he enunciated each word clearly. Those who are not of my race must have different intentions. The human race and the demon race have always been at odds. The demon race kills humans, so it is only right and proper for me to hunt and kill the demon race. The master of the Mystic Gate is also considered a powerhouse of the human race. As his disciple, are you going to collude with the demon race? Xiao Yan shrugged and sneered. Don't be in such a hurry to accuse me. Taishu Temple is the most vigilant against the demon race, but I don't see them provoking the phoenix race. It's not because they bully the weak and fear the strong, but because the phoenix race hides from the world and doesn't even participate in the war between the two worlds. Perhaps the great Zhou dynasty will support you if you have a conflict with the other demon clans. However, you have provoked the Phoenix clan. You have forcefully sent a powerful force that would not have intervened in the conflict between the two clans to the opposing side. Do you think the great Zhou dynasty will still protect you? Marquis Jinghuan looked at Xiao Yan and suddenly smiled. There are many things you don't understand. Chapter 5:14. There are indeed many things I don't understand. Xiao Yan shrugged his shoulders. For example, I don't understand where you have the confidence to be so arrogant. I'll ask out of hand, you're so arrogant that you probably don't even remember what your surname is, right? Xiao Yan examined Marquis Jinghuan up and down with a very rude gaze. Don't tell me it's as the rumors say, that you're the illegitimate child of Emperor Zhou Yangpan. Even if you are, Liang Pan will not protect you after causing such a huge disaster for the great Zhou dynasty. Marquis Jinghuan was successful at a young age and the rewards he received were too great. He was even given bright yellow clothing to wear, making him almost like a member of the royal family. There were many criticisms within the great Zhou dynasty. There were even rumors that he was the illegitimate child of Emperor Zhou Yangpan. Liang Pan himself did not comment on this and Marquis Jinghuan did not respond. Xiao Yan looked at him. Even the great Zhou crown prince, Liang Yuan, provoked the phoenix race for no reason. This is a great crime. A light punishment would be the removal of the crown prince position. A heavy punishment would be even more severe. The two late-stage Yuanying cultivators and the other Yuanying cultivators next to Marquis Jinghuan felt uncomfortable under Xiao Yan's gaze. They stared at him with unfriendly expressions. A thick murderous aura spread out, making people tremble in fear. Marquis Jinghuan did not get angry and said calmly, "That's why I said that there are many things you don't understand." Xiao Yan, the eldest disciple of the master of the Xian Gate. He comes from the Shao family of the Wuzhou city of the Qin dynasty. He should be 19, but he should have cultivated in a heavenly grotto heaven with accelerated time. That's why he's already over 20. A year ago, on the Celeritas Sword Sect's cloud-traversing peak, he fought against the Qin dynasty's crown prince Shi Chongyun with early-stage golden elixir cultivation. He had the solar true fire and the nether evil blaze true fire. He once used the ability to combine the two flames and destroyed one of Shi Chongyun's Yuanying magic treasures. He fought to a draw with Shi Chongyun. Marquis Jinghuan's tone was flat, but he was very familiar with Xiao Yan's life. After this battle, you will advance to the middle stage of the Golden Elixir realm and then vanish. The battle on Cloud Traversing Peak will be the last time you fight for nearly a year. Now that your cultivation has reached the late stage of the Golden Elixir, your rate of improvement is indeed very fast. Compared to your previous achievements, your current strength can at least defeat a mid-stage Yuanying cultivator, and you can even fight against a late-stage Yuanying cultivator. When Marquis Jinghuan said this, his eyes flickered. It is often said that the master of the Mystic Gate has monstrous geniuses under him. Looking at you now, this is indeed true. The master of the Celestial Sect of Wonders is a true hero. Marquis Jinghuan's expression remained calm. But if you think that you alone can interfere with my affairs, then you are gravely mistaken. I can use the ancient emperor's saber to contend with this scarlet phoenix for a very long time, but how long can you last against my god-slaying puppet? Although he said that, looking at his relaxed attitude, whether it was Xiao Yan, Fei Yi, or Mou, they could all see that other than the indestructible emperor flag, the ancient emperor's saber, and the god-slaying puppet, he definitely had other trump cards. This was extremely frightening. 3 primordial spirit-grade treasures were actually not this person's full strength. Or we can swap, Marquis Jing Huan said with fervor and assurance. I also want to try Xianmen Tianzong's Dao, skills, and divine abilities and see what's so special about them. Xiao Yan was unafraid. He chuckled. Alright, then let's give it a try. He put his hands together, and golden flames immediately gushed out. It was like a small sun slowly rising from the eternal imperial flag's grotto heaven. Only using the sun's true fire. It's useless. I don't have the ancient emperor's saber. Just like you, I am a late-stage golden elixir cultivator. You are no match for me with just one type of true fire, let alone a late-stage Yuanying cultivator like me with the ancient emperor's saber. As Marquis Jing Huan spoke, his figure suddenly flashed. With the god-slaying puppet temporarily blocking Fei Yi, he suddenly rushed in front of Xiao Yan. A martial cultivator's physical qi and blood burst forth. Combined with the power of spatial travel, they could sprint faster than lightning at close range. Taihuang Dermic Scroll, Overlord's Token. Marquis Jing Huan did not use the ancient emperor's saber in his right hand. He put the saber behind his back, and his left hand spread open, smashing down on Xiao Yan's head. Wang! 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 The space emitted bursts of explosive sounds. Xiao Yan shockingly discovered that the air in a radius of several miles around him seemed to have been sucked out in an instant, the space continuously collapsing towards him, wanting to squeeze him in the middle and crush him into meat paste. Marquis Jing Huan's palm came crashing down like the majesty of an emperor. With a single command, heaven and earth obeyed. The might of this overlord's token was actually a martial mystique that simulated the terrifying power of the world's destruction. Xiao Yan had not personally experienced a battle with a late-stage Yuanying cultivator, but he had heard from Zhu Yi and other senior and junior brothers that the late-stage Yuanying patriarchs had powerful battle strength when they revealed their heaven and earth dharma powers. However, none of them were as powerful as Marquis Jing Huan's token, which was fused with the heaven and earth dharma powers. Marquis Jing Huan's palm alone could shatter the heaven and earth dharma powers of most late-stage Yuanying cultivators. Without relying on primordial spirit dharma treasures, he could sweep through the Yuanying cultivators with his own cultivation. Few could match him. Ha, good move. Xiao Yan sneered. The sun true fire in the center of his palm glowed with golden light, like thousands of needles clustered together. Suddenly, there was a change. A flame that was also golden but flashed with red and blue light suddenly lit up in Xiao Yan's palm. In both of Xiao Yan's eyes, 2 flames suddenly flashed separately. His left eye was pure gold, the flames were like needles, dazzling and eye-catching. His right eye was gold with red and blue colors, reflecting each other's brilliance. He circulated his magic power to the limit, and his 10 fingers moved nimbly as if they were plucking flowers. He instantly cast spell after spell seal into the true fire in his palm. An incomparably terrifying aura spread out. It was a powerful concept that could burn and destroy everything, even the creation of the world would be reduced to ashes. Firmament Fire Lotus. Xiao Yan took a deep breath and suddenly clapped his palms together. The berserk flames calmed down and condensed into a golden lotus the size of a palm. In the middle of the lotus, the red and blue-colored light turned into a stamen, gently swaying. Xiao Yan, who had already reached the late stage of the golden elixir realm, fused the flame lotus with his true fire much more easily than it had been on cloud-traversing peak. It was smoother and faster, and he completed this incomparably terrifying dharma spell in almost an instant. He had been dormant for too long. Today, he would completely erupt and announce to the world that the eldest disciple of Xianmen Tianzong, whose name had once shaken the divine continent, had officially returned. At the same time, Marquis Jing Huan's overlord token palm came crashing down. Without hesitation, Xiao Yan used the golden firmament fire lotus in his hand to meet Marquis Jing Huan's overlord token. With a boom, the world of black light turned bright. In the next moment, the void was engulfed by a boundless sea of flames. As far as the eye could see, there were boundless golden flames. Even Fei Yi, who was a great sage, was surprised. Mou, who was a late-stage demon king, and the two late-stage nascent soul experts under Marquis Jing Huanho were even more shocked. There was no need to talk about Marquis Jing Huanho, but Xiao Yan's firmament fire lotus after fusing two great true fires was truly terrifying. Such power would make ordinary late-stage Yuanying cultivators tremble in fear. This was a power that could destroy their Dharma idol and even kill them. The golden sea of flames was vast and mighty, and red and blue light danced in the air. In the center of the sea of flames, Xiao Yan was like the Emperor of Flames, standing proudly. However, his expression was slightly solemn as he stared at Marquis Jing Huan, who was also in the sea of flames. Marquis Jing Huan also stood in the sea of flames, turning a blind eye to the flames around him. Xiao Yan thought to himself, this person is truly powerful. Even if Great Qin's crown prince Shi Chongyun cultivated to late-stage Yuanying, he might not be able to withstand my firmament fire lotus. This person is truly capable of fighting it head-on with his physical body. With such power, he can easily defeat an ordinary late-stage Yuanying cultivator. Compared to Xiao Yan, Marquis Jing Huan's expression was even more solemn. For the first time since he appeared, he looked surprised. You fused two types of true fires just now. One is the true sun fire, there's no mistake, but the second, oh, it's golden and flashes with red and blue light. That's the Nanmingli fire. You actually have the Nanmingli fire. Aside from the true sun fire and the Nanmingli fire, you also have the nether evil blaze. Marquis Jing Huan's eyes flashed as he said, you don't have two true fires. You actually have three true fires at the same time. The moment he said this, everyone was shocked. At the same time, they looked at Xiao Yan in shock. Even Fei Yi had forced the god-slaying puppet to retreat. He paused the battle and looked at Xiao Yan. This kid actually has three true fires at the same time. Xiao Yan smiled faintly and did not say anything, which was equivalent to tacit agreement. The space suddenly fell silent. Be it Marquis Jing Huan, Fei Yi, or Mou, all of them had the same question in their minds. Since Xiao Yan could fuse the power of two true fires, could his celestial fire lotus also fuse three true fires at the same time? The fusion of two true fires already had such power. What if three true fires fused at the same time? It would not be as simple as 2 + 1 = 3. How terrifying would the power be? Marquis Jing Huan's gaze moved back and forth between Xiao Yan and Fei Yi. To deal with this Xiao Yan, I have to use the ancient Emperor Saber. However, the pressure on that Scarlet Phoenix will be reduced. Just one god-slaying puppet won't be able to do anything to it. To deal with these two at the same time, I still need to use more trump cards. It's not good for me to expose too much now, Marquis Jing Huan thought to himself. And I won't make it in time. The other phoenixes will be here soon to reinforce me. With this thought, Marquis Jing Huan waved his hand, and the ancient Emperor Saber returned to its scabbard. Black light flashed before his eyes, and even the imperishable imperial flag was retracted. He released Xiao Yan, Fei Yi, and Mou. Then the imperishable imperial flag fluttered in the wind, sweeping up Marquis Jing Huan and his subordinates as they flew away. They had actually left without any hesitation. Xianmen Tianzong, you live up to your reputation. Marquis Jing Huan's voice reverberated through the air. However, this Marquis will eventually have a chance to take this Black Phoenix. There's no rush. Xiao Yan, you ruined this Marquis's plans. This Marquis will settle the score with you in the future. However, if you have the time to meddle in other people's business, why don't you think about your own path of escape, Xianmen Tianzong? This Marquis will give you a reminder. Your junior brother Shi Tianhao's rival, the dual-pupiled Shi Tianyi, has long since surpassed the Shi and Yu clans. You're tuning in to the Blissful Bookshelf YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.